So it looks like those rumors, reports were pretty true. Kathleen Kennedy, after years at Lucasfilm, is stepping down. The replacements have been named. What does it mean? She gave an exit interview. We'll talk about that. I know it's supposed to be capes and cows, but this story it's too big. The show's going to really get out of your chair. No one needs you. It's going to all be about what is happening over at Lucasfilm. What does it mean? Now, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Too hard to tell. We're going to find out. It's myself, Chris Carr, Winston A. Marshall. Let's do it. Welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. It's Friday, capes and cows-ish today, but it is I guess a Sith Council type of show because it's going to be all about Lucasfilm, Star Wars, and all that. So joining me on the show today is one Winston A. Marshall and the one, the only Chris Carr.
Chris,
hello.
You look gorgeous today.
Thank you, but people don't call me Chris. They call me Christian.
Oh, you look fine. You look a little grainy, actually.
Yeah, that's fine.
Dude,
maybe to you.
I so appreciate that because I was very happy we started late because I've been editing since 6 a.m.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Thank you very much.
We did indeed start late, and one of the reasons why is because people have been, when I was traveling, people were asking, they're going, "Hey, where's Game of Thrones? Where's Game of Thrones? Where's Game of Thrones?" Well, one of the things that we were doing is Sam came in yesterday. We shot season 1, episode 7 and 8, which is on the channel now. We shot 9 and 10, which definitely got the reaction people thought you're going to get in episode 9. Well, you're going to get it, and that's going to release tomorrow on the channel. And then we're going to get into a regular schedule. She just came in today. We shot episodes 1 and 2 of season 2, so that will come out on Tuesday. We're going to drop Tuesday and Friday will be Game of Thrones. So there you go. And today, when I was like, I got to be on I wanted to be on the show regardless. But then Luke last night sent me this story, and I was like, well, yeah, we got it. This is what we're going to cover because it's been creeping up. We knew it was going to happen. So let's get into the article itself because it's quite lengthy because Kathleen Kennedy gave an exit interview. So we're going to go through this Hollywood Reporter article, and then we'll talk about that and so much more about the potential future, the pros, the cons, all that and more. So let's get it. And by the way, so if you want to know, the goal right now is 112 by Steph Sabra. That's where Capes and she knows that Capes has been the formidable
with the puppy.
Jim. So let's get into the all righty. So if we are starting, we're going to start with the Hollywood Reporter itself, which it is now official that Star Wars is getting new leadership. Kathleen Kennedy is officially stepping down, and we are getting both Dave Filoni and Brennan, who are now taking over at Lucasfilm. The change in leadership may mean a new hope for the storied franchise, or it could be Attack of the Clones by giving fans more of the same. So let's see. After 14 years guiding Star Wars into the modern era through all its ups and downs, Kathleen Kennedy is stepping down as the president of Lucasfilm. Her departure from the company, which is effective this week, has long been expected, but still marks a seismic shift for one of the biggest brands in Hollywood. So someone's ruffling trash, so I'm going to do that instead. So perfect. Thank you for who's doing that. Star Wars, 14 years of modern era, its ups and downs. Kathleen Kennedy is stepping down as the president of Lucasfilm. Her departure from the company, which is effective this week, has been long expected, but still marks a seismic shift for one of the biggest brands in Hollywood. Kennedy had also spent decades producing movies such as Indiana Jones and E.T. when she joined Lucasfilm in 2012, taking on the role of co-chair alongside Star Wars creator George Lucas. She was elevated to sole head of the company just a few months later after Disney paid $4 billion for the brand after Lucas exited. Kennedy is not departing the galaxy far, far away immediately. As part of her exit, she will continue on as a producer on the next two Lucasfilms, The Mandalorian and Grogu. Coming May 22nd, 2027, Starfighter. She will also pursue other sides outside Lucasfilm as an independent producer. In her wake-up, Executive VP and Chief Creative Officer Dave Filoni has been promoted to oversee the creative direction of the company as President and Chief Creative Officer of Lucasfilm. President and GM of Lucasfilm Business, Filoni Brennan, will handle the business side of things as co-president Lucasfilm. Splitting creative and the business duties is a common Disney strategy, with Pixar run by Pete Docter, Jim Morris, and Walt Disney Animation overseen by Jared Bush and Clark Spencer. Filoni and Brennan will report to Alan Bergman, co-chairman of Disney Entertainment. It has been a true privilege to spend more than a decade working alongside the extraordinary talent at Lucasfilm. Kennedy said their creativity and dedication has been an inspiration. Deeply proud of what we've accomplished together. I'm excited to continue developing films and television with longtime collaborators and fresh voices who represent the future of storytelling. Kennedy's exit closes out one Star Wars era and launches a new one, with the elevation of Filoni and Brennan posing many questions with few answers yet revealed. One thing certain, after a period of relative inactivity as the Kennedy succession was settled, Lucasfilm could see development go into hyperdrive under the new leadership. Filoni was mentioned by Lucas and came up through the world of animation, overseeing beloved series such as The Clone Wars before teaming with Jon Favreau on live-action shows such as The Mandalorian and Ahsoka. Brennan joined Lucasfilm in 1999 and rose to the president of Industrial Light and Magic before assuming her current role in 2015, overseeing all of business for the company. Kennedy was a veteran producer, boasting 8 Best Picture Oscar nominations on titles such as The Sixth Sense and Lincoln when she took over Lucasfilm and worked quickly to move into the new era of Star Wars movies. She courted J.J. Abrams direct Star Wars The Force Awakens, the $2 billion grossing feature that launched a new trilogy in 2015. It was the first Star Wars feature since 2005's Revenge of the Sith and met the moment of pent-up demand with a mix of nostalgia and new characters. It stands as the top grossing movie of all time. At the domestic box office was $936.6 million. More movies followed annually, including the $1 billion grossing Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, The Last Jedi, $1.3 billion, Solo, A Star Wars Story, $392, and Rise of Skywalker at $1 billion. It was not always smooth sailing. Kennedy fired filmmakers Lord and Miller as directors of Solo, replacing them with Ron Howard mid-production. The film became the first Star Wars movie to lose money in its theatrical run. During the production of Rogue One, she sidelined director Gareth Edwards with Tony Gilroy, and he was brought in to overhaul the movie. And while that move engendered plenty of Sky is Falling narratives, it proved to be savvy as the movie became a pretty critical and financial hit, and later led to Gilroy's critically adored and Emmy-winning Disney Plus series Andor. I'm getting some problems with this article. Following Rise of Skywalker, which received a mixed response, Disney put Star Wars movies on pause, with CEO Bob Iger acknowledging it produced too many movies too quickly. Over the past decade, Lucasfilm went through stops and starts as it promised. Movies that failed to materialize, including projects from Game of Thrones creators Benioff and Weiss, Last Jedi filmmaker Rian Johnson, Taika Waititi. A movie starring Daisy Ridley has been stuck in development since it was announced in 2023. There's now 2 films on the way: Mandalorian and Grogu on the 22nd, Sean Levy's Starfighter on May 28th, 2027. While the movie side of Star Wars, let's start with the exit first here. So let's start here, Chris, because there's so much to discuss here, and we're not even done with this article yet. There's so much more to what she says inside of it. What are your thoughts? We knew it was coming. They had rumored this a couple of weeks ago. She's been talking about the writing's been on the wall for a little bit, but now the beginning of the year, it makes sense. What do you think with this announcement?
Well, I mean, for the longest time, Kathleen Kennedy has basically been Columbo. She just keeps coming back in, going, one more thing. And then she doesn't leave. She keeps announcing her retirement and doesn't. So this does make sense, beginning of the year, seeing this kind of shift happen. I do want to just point out, as always, anytime we talk about Kathleen Kennedy, people are so quick to talk about all of the problems that have come with her staying in this position. And when Star Wars is good, people tend to not give her credit. But when Star Wars is bad, they put all the blame on her. Has she had a flawless track record? No. I think she probably should have gotten out sooner. But we do have to at least acknowledge that she is a big part of why the Star Wars franchise, for a long time, was doing so well. Has it teetered? Of course it has. But I feel like this is the time. You know, we are having so many things kind of come to an end within Star Wars. The Mandalorian and Grogu theoretically is the send-off to this kind of flagship thing we've had on Disney Plus for their Star Wars content. And it makes sense for us to kind of have a changing of the captain, if you will. But again, I just want to bring up, everyone always loves to point out how she has done this terrible job. Not the whole time, guys. Not the whole time. So we have to give her roses for what she has done well.
Totally.
And she's obviously an award-winning producer. So
yeah. And so I equate that to Winston, as we talked many times about sports, right? Where this is
just about to go there. Yeah.
This is somebody who has won championships, and when the coach is winning championships, they're a good coach. And then when they start losing games and come in, last place, then people are like, oh, the whole tenure was crap. And it's not the case. I think Chris is right. As an overall producer, you cannot deny that she's one of maybe the best. I saw some silly comment that said like, oh, you always said that she's not responsible for Andor. Never said that. If it wasn't for Kathleen Kennedy, you don't get a Tony Gilroy on the show. Creatively, in certain things, she lets certain creators explore and do their things without interference. Tony Gilroy being one of those. And I think that that's in elements like that where she was shining. So I trust Tony. I'm going to let him do. There's other times when creatively she got involved with Star Wars that I think she dropped the ball, which is in the same way you're talking about with coaches. And it's like, maybe they shouldn't have called that play in the big game because that wasn't the call to make. I think Lord Miller is an example of that, right? Maybe we take and what's not her fault when you look at that. What I will say, I'm not a big fan of the Solo movie, but I don't blame the financial loss on her on that one. I blame that one on Iger. Iger was the one who said, you got to release this in May, 6 months after the divisive Last Jedi, right? And right before Infinity War came out.
Yep.
When December had already been proven it's working. Last Jedi, Force Awakens, Rogue One, and then they move it. So I don't give her all of the loss there with that. So what I do think that when producing is very different than running an entire company and running a creative thing. And I don't think that's her strength. I think her strength is exactly what they said, finding the right producers, finding the right directors, finding the right talent. Certain things that directors do, running the overall narrative and all that, it's not her strength. And I think she proved that. It's just, and that's why she's leaving.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think it's funny. The way that we described her tenure really is, it's crazy how much sports echoes everything else. This is for those that follow football. This is Mike Tomlin, who congratulations on signing John Harbaugh, which is a very similar situation as well. Yeah. You had 18, 19 years tenure as a coach. You won a Super Bowl early, and then it was like you had success throughout, but you weren't reaching the heights that the fans were expecting. I think this is the same thing here, where she comes out of the gate swinging. People are feeling good about the sequel trilogy. People are feeling good about Rogue One and everything. And then as time goes on, you're still seeing success in the season, in that it's still $1 billion movie at Last Jedi, but the fans start to divide. And then things start to go one way or the other. And even The Rise of Skywalker still pulls in $1 billion, but by that point, you've kind of dropped the ball. You still see some success, like we talked about with Mandalorian and whatnot, but again, dropping the ball. So anybody that is, like you said, not giving the flowers for what she did over the course of the tenure is being disingenuous. And I don't actually take anything that they're saying all that seriously. But to sit here at the same time and try and sweep under the rug the direction that things have been going for the last couple of years is also disingenuous. Yeah. I think we need to just have this honest conversation that she does have a Hall of Fame run for what happened here, but it just didn't look good at the end. And so now we really need to move on and really hope that we can turn this whole team around. I took that metaphor all the way.
Well, you know what it is though, Chris.
It worked. It was good.
Yeah, but with that, I think that I still would say I don't think she was the right person to run the overall company. I think she might have been the right person to be producing some of the movies, like clearly. And I think that in the same way we say this all the time too, like when Infinity War and Endgame are like the biggest movies and everybody loves them, it's Kevin Feige and Marvel. It's never Disney. Never Disney. But if a movie sucks, oh, Disney ruined it. Disney ruined Marvel. They did it. They never give them. It's the same thing with this. There's a lot that she did right inside of putting together those pieces in Rise of Skywalker. But when it started to really go bad, in my opinion, was Rogue One, because Rogue One was a success, but in the failure of what she had with Solo showed the failure. Rogue One, it tricked you, because Rogue One, all the same shit was going on. They didn't like what was going on with what Gareth Edwards was doing. They didn't like, so they brought in Gilroy to try to fix it up, and they happened to Frankenstein it together and make something that was pretty special. With Solo, there's a lot that just didn't work, and it just just didn't work. And it came out at that time that we said. So that's, to me, when it started to go south, was when it started to show, wait a minute, there's things that maybe this isn't working creatively the right way. And the shows, where I will say, with that one comment who was talking about the Andor that was wrong, maybe this is what they meant. I think she had less to do with the Mandalorian creatively in the beginning. I think that anything that this is what I have to make very clear. There was nothing that anybody made that Kathleen Kennedy didn't sign off on and say, go for it. It's impossible. So people are like, oh, she didn't you didn't give her credit. You have to. She's the one that's got to check off and say, okay, go for it. So she let Filoni and Favreau, or you want to make a TV show, you want to do this is a show you want to make, go. I think when it became very successful, she started getting a little bit more involved, maybe not. And there are other things. I don't know if the Jack Black Izzo thing is her. I don't know if it is Favreau. I think from what they heard is Favreau was like a fan of Izzo and put her in the show. Whatever. What she does do and did do, she does get the hot director. She gets the who's hot right now, who's doing this, like, as opposed to who's going to tell us the best story. And that's why Taika got a gig. I think that a lot of these, this happens often. And I think that's why, I think Donald Glover is great. I think he was the best part of Solo, but I also think he got a full movie because he was Glover. I don't who they're still keeping that movie in development because it's him. That movie shouldn't go right now. That's not the movies that they need, but we'll get into that. But either way,
I want it. Why can't I have the things I want?
It's true. It's true. But let me ask you this, Krista. Let's talk about the replacement, because as they allude to, or potentially allude to in this article, was it could be fresh blood, it could be something brand new, or it could be Attack of the Clones. I'll start with Lou and Brennan. And I think that because people are going to right away expecting me to go, oh, this is the bad choice overall for these two. From Lou and Brennan seems like a great choice for executive, for the business side. Proven track record. She seems like good move. That's the way to go. 50% of this works for me. How do you feel about the whole pie?
So when we're talking about that, then Brennan, but then Filoni being the other.
Yeah, you can start. You can start with.
Okay.
You can start with either one. Whatever you want to start with.
Sure.
I wanted to address that. I think that she was a very good choice.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're hiring from within. This is somebody who's already gotten a proven track record, who's done a really nice job of running the various divisions. And from a business standpoint, she really knows what she's doing. And this is one of the things that, to your point of what you were saying earlier about Kennedy, Kennedy's a great executive. Right. I don't know if she's always the best creative. I think she often isn't the best creative, but I think she has some smart business savvy. She knows how to go after, like you said, who's hot right now, that sort of thing. And I feel like Brennan is somebody who also can understand how to implement those things alongside a creative team to give us some really great stuff potentially. This is somebody who knows how Lucasfilm, Industrial Light and Sound, or Skywalker Sound, all of that kind of works together and comes together. And so I feel like she's a really, really great pick here. And I do like the idea of the dichotomy of kind of a,
Gunn and
Saffron thing. Because Filoni, right, there's always that idea, like Gunn. Oh, he's one of us. He knows Star Wars lore so deeply, so intrinsically, and so loves this. However, then you have the risk of him doing his kind of thing that he's known to do, of being a little insular and making this galaxy smaller by doing all these connective stories. I've said this over and over again. Lucas does this, Filoni does this. There is this Dickensian nature to Star Wars that I don't really enjoy. And by that, I mean, Charles Dickens loved to have all of his characters miraculously be tied together, and can enjoy that in Great Expectations. I don't want that in a vast galaxy that is far, far away. I want to
Right.
explore other aspects of it, which it sounds like we are teeing up for, with things like the Ryan Gosling Star Wars film. So I'm hoping that having somebody like Brennan with a Filoni or some pairing similar to that can be a, hey, cool, yes, you have great understanding of this universe, but what if we try this? Or
Right.
what if we court this director? Or what if we dabble with genre? Because you can do a lot in this sandbox. And Star Wars Visions, honestly, is one of the things that's really
great.
proven that.
I know. I wish that they would. I wish they'd let that team have a little bit. It's a totally separate team from
Yeah.
the other creative.
I
It's
think
the
they
same
should
with the
follow
books
a
are.
lot of those stories. I think they should dive into those worlds.
Couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah.
Winston. So yeah, and in the case of Filoni, to kind of piggyback, I've been pretty vocal. I think it's a terrible choice. I think it's an absolutely terrible choice to have him.
Who would you have put instead of him?
I don't have an answer to that. Because it's like, I would like to see someone that's going to expand it a little bit more. I don't mind as much as Chris does the connectivity if it's all making sense, like in the way that like Andor was connectivity, right? And I didn't mind that as long as you should tell different stories, which I agree with. But I feel like in the way that I fear, Gunn could make it more, depending on what is Gillespie going to be able to make a Gillespie movie and is Supergirl, or is he going to be making a version of Gunn's notes of Supergirl, right? And I feel like I don't want to see that in Star Wars because I've already seen that. And let's make no mistake about it, Filoni has had a very strong creative imprint on Star Wars over the last couple of years, and he's as much to blame as Kennedy is. A lot of things like Ahsoka, when I watched the first 2 episodes, I was like, oh, I really loved Rebels. I think he's a great animation director. I think he's a great animation writer. I don't think his stuff plays. There's a few things that he directed in The Mandalorian season 1 and season 2 that I think are very good. But his overall writing is childish. And I think that Ahsoka, as I watched it back, I think I Kool-Aided myself in the first time watching it, going, oh yeah, okay, kind of enjoyed it. It's terribly written. And I wonder what season 2 is going to do. He holds on to things. He's writing the entire season. He gatekeeps, and it's like, because, well, George taught me, so I know better than you do. And that is a really bad way to go into this, especially when you don't have the experience. You can say whatever you want about Kathleen Kennedy. You couldn't say anything about her experience. Now, granted, he's not taken over the business side of things. They're going to let him do the creative things. But with that much power of him standing there like Vader in the hallway, it's like, well, no, I don't want to do something like Andor. I don't want to do Knights of the Old Republic because George didn't like that stuff, so I don't like it either. You're never going to see that kind of stuff. And you're going to see more live action cartoons, and I hope I'm wrong. But what do you make of this entire change?
Well, I just want to, before I answer that, I just wanted to ask you then, is that not where, I'm so sorry. What's her name again? It's Brennan. Is that not where Brennan is like, well, I don't care, Brody. We're co-chairs in this, and
she's the business
Knights
side.
is gonna.
She's
I get
business.
that, but I'm saying, but Knights is gonna make us X amount of dollars, so I'm gonna need you. Is that not how that kind of balances out, or no?
Nah, she's the one that's gonna be handling the parks. She's gonna be handling.
So she would have no say.
I don't know if she's gonna have no say. Of course, she's like, she can give her opinions, but as far as who's gonna be greenlighting the stuff, the creative stuff, it's gonna be him. He's not. Yeah.
The only reason why I ask is because I thought that was like, I do think about, say, Jobs and Cook and all that kind of stuff and Wozniak, when that was balanced out, is that like, yeah, Steve was the dreamer, but Tim was the one that had to like kind of make it happen and like greenlit yes or no. And if stuff went too much, they'd be like, you got to rein that back in. I thought that was supposed to be what the relationship is. And if that's the case, if Brennan does have that kind of influence and power, I think that's going to be the thing that helps potentially balance it out. But I understand what you're saying, and obviously way more intimately than I do, that if Filoni has kind of gone off the deep end with that is a concern that you're going to see that kind of go that particular direction. I would just hope, especially with whatever that Iger wants to kind of, because I'm assuming he had some sort of say in helping decide how this was going to go as well, that there was a conversation of this is not going the right direction. So there
that's what I worry. I think that they're enamored by the I saw someone make this comment the other day, and I feel like this is the same way Filoni feels, right? Someone said like, oh, it's just the internet that has a problem with Star Wars, because when you go to Star Wars Celebration, everybody loves it. No shit. Everybody loves it at Star Wars Celebration. Why are you going to buy a ticket to Star Wars Celebration and be like, yeah, you suck. Why do you put women in Star Wars? You know, it's like, then of course they're not going to do that. And and you shouldn't do that on the internet either. But like, the internet also does represent opinions of people who are just like, I'm kind of over it. Right. And the internet is a much larger place than Star Wars Celebration. Star Wars Celebration is going to applaud and say, look, you're doing everything great. You're a celebrity, Dave Filoni. We love everything you do. Dave Filoni has a lot of misses. And the thing is, well, he wasn't very involved in Acolyte. That's a problem if he wasn't, because he had that job of creative. He had that job a lot longer than it was announced. It was announced a year after he had already been in the role. He was very involved in the Acolyte. He was very involved. And so that's a problem. He was around when they were doing Boba Fett, and that was a problem. He was around to give some advice on Obi-Wan. They dropped the ball on that one. So, but to him, great, very proud of what it was. I mean, what else is he going to say, obviously? But like, you can't look at that and go, oh, that went over with the fan. You can't look at Obi-Wan and then look at Andor and the accolades and everything that Andor got and not say, oh shit, we should have done that with Obi-Wan. You should really dove deep into Obi-Wan the way everybody thought that what we got with Andor we were going to get with Obi-Wan, and we didn't. So he's as much to blame as anyone else.
That's fair. I think part of it that we try and take into consideration with stuff is like, obviously when a lot of this started to go full-blown sideways was around the same time that we hit the pandemic. So then you get into the idea of really pushing streamers even harder. And I think what got interesting, and this will be the capes and cows tie, when you look at the MCU and the same way you look at Star Wars, because of the numbers, because people were in the house, it looked like everything was all gravy, but you're starting to see the numbers drop and drop and drop. And instead of anticipating for, this is actually a decline in quality, they were probably more looking at it like, well, everybody was in the house, so we didn't really have the box office, and so people were still watching it on Disney Plus, so it is what it is, but not actually seeing the greater problem that was kind of going on there. So I think we've all agreed at this point that Kathleen probably should have taken a step away, and there should have been a change in direction a little bit earlier. And so I think maybe they didn't see it quite as quickly as they should have to make the adjustment.
Yeah.
So if you're this worried about Filoni, it's certainly going to raise like a red flag in my brain to know if he had that much intricate connection to some of these projects that didn't work as well. But again, I think that's exactly why you went with the Gunn Safran model of we're splitting up the duties.
Sure, you couldn't. You couldn't give him, and rightfully so. He knows it. To give him credit, he'd probably like, look, you want me to try to take on the creative side of it and tell stories? Please do, but like the parks and all that stuff, that's not me. In the same way that Gunn did, Chris. That's not, and he shouldn't have. That's not his responsibility, and that's what they should split that up, because that would be too much for him to do. In the same way, it would be too much for Gunn to do. But one of the pros that I do think will happen here, and one of the things that I think Kathleen Kennedy did not well, was because I will combat with you just a little bit, Chris, where I think she's a great producer. I don't think she's a great executive. I think she's a great producer, because I think as an executive, a lot of errors that she made was making announcements way too far ahead of things and doing it many times. We've got Patty Jenkins to do a movie. Just kidding. We got Benioff and Weiss. No, they're not. We've got Daisy Ridley coming out in a movie soon. Here she is on stage. That's on hold. Taika Waititi's doing a movie. Is he? Like all that stuff. Like she continued to do that over and over and over again. I don't think Filoni will do that. To give him his flowers there, I don't think he'll do that. I think he is very calculated in his decisions. When you look at the stuff that he did in all of his shows, he waited. I think sometimes waiting too long. I think that he did that. I think that he's probably behind the idea of waiting for the Mandalorian and Grogu trailer. Let's show it at Celebration, give them that special thing, and then we'll show it down the line. It was a great, nice model back in the day. It doesn't work anymore. It was leaked all over the place, and some of the lowest amounts of views any Star Wars trailer has ever gotten, because people saw it already long time ago. No one cares. So, but I do think that he is going to be calculated, and I think Star Wars needs calculated.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I understand that completely, because how many times was it here you go? No, just kidding. I hired them. No, I fired them. So I completely understand that. I do think Filoni will have a little bit of that reverence for this, though. You know, that idea of it's worth the wait. Just let me give you this later on. And I think there will be a little bit more, this sounds a little ridiculous, but a little bit more pageantry around it too. Because it should be special when these movies come out. Because when was the last time we had Star Wars on a big screen, first of all? I mean, and that's where
2019.
That's insane.
That's,
that's where it should be.
That's the problem.
This is the pro, again, more of the pros that will happen, right? They're going to start to make things happen. You're going to start seeing more movies, more projects will be coming out because they need to prove themselves. So that's a pro.
Yeah.
The other pro is that Filoni is very good on stage when it comes to exciting the audience and doing things with him and whoever it is. Kathleen Kennedy was not. She was reading off of a monitor every time. It never felt genuine. You're always like, oh, there's an executive who's reading off the thing. They don't really. Sure. And guys, we're so excited because you're excited because coming soon is a Rey movie. And you're like, yeah. And Filoni's like, Filoni really gets, he knows how to tease this up because he cares about it. And that's the other pro. Filoni genuinely loves Star Wars. I'm not, there's no world where I'm going to combat that at all. I don't think he's the right guy for the job, but he loves Star Wars. I don't think Kathleen Kennedy loves Star Wars. I just don't. I think that she liked making money off of Star Wars, but I don't think she loved Star Wars. And I think that is a positive to have somebody who loves Star Wars.
Dude, all you've really done with this conversation is it's not to say that I'm not engaged. I am. All it's made me realize is how actually perfect of a first season in a show the studio was. Because you're like the way that all of this played out, you're having your Bryan Cranston of like, go get me my moneymaker crap. And like, you have someone that wants to be the creative, but they're too inside baseball and they're not paying attention. The one thing that it's done for me is just realize how well done that show was.
It deserves that Golden Globe.
Like honestly, and the more you talk about it, man, I will say that my fear, where the Safran Gunn model, in my opinion, is not totally working right now, is the fact that Gunn himself has even said, I took on too much.
Too much.
I am afraid of.
Well, but to be fair, he was directing a lot, and maybe Filoni won't be directing as much anymore.
Right. But that is what I'm afraid of, is that you got so excited about the dream job that you wanted. You've been wanting to do something like this for a while, and you're more attached to these particular stories. I'm afraid now that Filoni will make the same mistake and want to immediately jump into being directly involved with 2, 3, 4 projects to start things off instead of properly delegating out. And then you end up with a similar situation where I think the DCU is doing fine so far, but people are starting to go, I didn't really love that Peacemaker ending, bro. Where is Batman?
You know what's funny about that, Winston, though, too, is I agree with you that he said he took on a lot and he's doing too much, and it's a big job overall, right? Now, to be fair, DC is a bigger overall property with everything else that they have and all the different characters and different stories that they can tell. Star Wars is big, but like, as Chris said, they haven't had a movie since 2019. They don't have to push out, we need 2, 3 movies a year with a TV show. It's a lot for Gunn to be doing. But what Gunn has that Dave Filoni does not is experience. Gunn has way more experience creatively than Dave Filoni does. So what I will also say is, the thing is, and this is where I want to make sure that I follow by the example that I've always talked about, and that is, if the first movie, because we won't see the first movie from these two, which we'll get into, which might be this Kinberg thing, which is, Snyder had a new report on that today, because Starfighter and Mandalorian Grogu are still under the Kathleen Kennedy watch. Now, they'll shepherd it. They'll make sure things are going right with it. They'll be doing that, but it's still, Kennedy will be producing it. You can't judge it. If Starfighter is great, I guarantee you, what do you think now, Kristian? So, Filoni, not Filoni's movie. It's the next movie. And if Filoni's movie that he does and he announces and he puts out and he shepherds is fantastic, I'm going to look at both Chris Carr and Winston A. Marshall. I'm going to look at the audience and I'm going to go, I was wrong. He really did exactly what he needed to do. and I am happy for him, and I'm happy for us as fans. However, if the first one is a same old step and repeat, bad dialogue, all the same stuff, problems, behind the scenes is Filoni really wanted it to be like this, and Filoni wanted it to be like that, and they didn't let me do my thing, then I'm going to go,
I got to ask you a question, though, and I understand that we're in a place of frustration, but is that not jumping the gun as well? No pun intended, in that we shouldn't look at coaches, we were using that metaphor, just off of an immediate first thing that happened.
No, of course not. Of course not. I know.
So
what you mean.
I'm saying,
you can't say it's automatically, hey, we're in great shape.
Well,
but a win is a win.
Good. I understand that, good or bad, because I even think about like, again, I'm trying to go super deep into the stuff, but we were so ready to say CJ Stroud was going to be the dude because of his rookie season, and then he's been kind of ass until now, where he started to be okay.
Sure. Yeah.
So in the same breath, on the flip side with Bryce Young, bad coming out, but now he's starting to figure it out. So are we going to be that quick to go, if he has one movie and it's great, we're good, or if it's bad, it's horrible?
Case by case. It depends on the history of what actually happened. If it's like, because some people will judge just on money, right? But like if you look at if a movie comes out and you're like there's tons, I can't remember, there's a movie recently, I just can't remember, that was like, look at The Long Walk. Long Walk was a great movie. Didn't do very well. Great movie. Roofman, great movie. Didn't do very well. People like, Derek Cianfrance's last movie, no one really saw it. Wasn't that good. He's not really doing good right now. I think that's unfair because no one saw the movie. So if Filoni puts out a movie, the first movie's really good, and you're like, okay, we got hope now, because it looks like he hired the right people. He's having conversations with people to say, like, look, this is the direction we want to go to. Now, what we're also going to find out is some of these things, that these roadblocks that were supposed and rumored by Kathleen Kennedy, that like, don't use Luke anymore, don't tie it into this stuff. Is he going to stick by that, or was he part of that? You know, like, and I'm not saying you need Luke in order to save the whole franchise. You don't. You can never use him ever again. But I'm just curious, like certain things, right? Like where I've mentioned this many times over, it would have made no sense if Luke wasn't the guy that came in to save Grogu. He was the most powerful Jedi at the moment. If it makes sense for the story, depending on the timeline, do it. Now, that being said, get the hell out of that timeline. I'm sick of that timeline. Let's go to new timelines. And that's why I'm scared, because I know he doesn't like the Knights of the Old Republic. He don't like the Old Republic. He don't want to live there. He didn't like the books. He don't want to be a part of that. And like, you've got to bend the knee on that, because it was the thing that Kathleen Kennedy said that still to this day. Well, the thing that these other IPs have is they have books and other things that the other stories, and we don't have that. Meanwhile, behind her, Claudia Gray novels and Timothy Zahn novels and Alexander Freed novels scattering the place. Adapt those. Those stories.
I was going to say, I think the biggest mistake that Kathleen made, in my opinion, was, because I'm assuming she had a massive part of this, of essentially just being like, none of this shit is related at all. You're not, we're this is all what legends. We're not, none of this.
That's not what she said, though.
So what? So
what she said in the beginning, which is another, which you're in the right highway. You just got off the wrong exit.
Wrong exit. Okay.
So what she said, there was a lot of the stuff, old stuff, was indeed put into Legends, right? But then what she said was, we're making all new stuff. This is in 2012. We're making all new stuff, and all that stuff, the books, the comics, the video games, essentially what James Gunn said, right? All that is going to be canon now. All of it. So if you hear something in
the new stuff that comes forward, but none of the old stuff.
No, the old stuff was then put into Legend, but this new stuff. And then they didn't stick to that, because Filoni doesn't like the books. He likes the TV shows. All the animated shows are canon, but not the books. And we can change,
which is just incredibly dumb to me, because
So
again, for me, I remember the Young Jedi series, which I was obsessed with growing up. But then other than that, like, KOTOR is one of the greatest stories that we've seen in a minute. And I have patiently been waiting for them to do that. And is it going to happen? It's not going to happen. Is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? And it just, I don't know, man. if anything, you're making me a little afraid now. Like I'm about to give into the fear, which is going to lead into anger, and the anger will lead to hate, and that's
Just
going to lead to the effing dark side.
Let it
But
flow through
like,
you.
I'm just saying be skeptical. That's all I'm saying is be skeptical because and this is coming from someone, if you go back and you watch old footage of me, 2015, me is having a full-on debate with old grouchy Clint Eastwood me right now and saying, what are you talking about? This is great news. This guy is the guy. This is the savior of Star Wars. And then you start to learn more and you realize he's not. He's not. He's a gatekeeper. And that's what scares me is it's going to be, this is my idea of Star Wars because George taught me, you don't know, and we're going to do more of this stuff. And it can't just be for kids. I know that there should be stuff for Star Wars that's absolutely just, I love the Young Jedi series and all that stuff that they do from it. Should be. There should be stuff that is based towards kids, but then you should get stuff like Andor. That's how you expand the brand. Go ahead, Chris.
Well, having Andor and Skeleton Crew, I think that shows how far you can take this.
Sure.
And Skeleton Crew
Sure.
was so good. It was so fun. This is my issue here is I'm fairly steeped in the lore, right? I'm a Star Wars fan. But when we get into things like what is G canon and all this other stuff, I do feel like I'm on the outskirts. I do feel like I'm a fake fan. And that idea of gatekeeping and what is canon and what is not is so silly. And this is where I'm going to betray myself as an artist. But dear God, just follow the money, people. Like Knights of the Old Republic made so much money by 2019 that had already grossed $1 million.
And look at Last of Us. Look
like-
at Last of Us and what Last of Us did. And you can adapt some of your big properties. They never adapt any of their big books or it's mind blowing.
And
Mind
this
blowing.
is where I'm hoping, and again, this is so contrary to what I usually say on this show. This is where I'm hoping someone like Brennan, a board of someone, like somebody else needs to come in and say, can you look at this chart about how much money this has made and how people really love this series? How
Right.
people are ravenous for more of this content? Because that's where we then can meet those two things, where you can capitalize on a story that happens to make a shit ton of money and also is beloved. And that's where I think a lot of these video games, a lot of these novels are just ripe for the picking.
So much
And
so.
you can do what we've done with comic book adaptations. Change it up. It doesn't have to follow it as a paint by numbers. You can do a couple different things. You can take that world and tell a different story within it. You can use it as a framework. And so I'm hoping that that a Filoni would at least understand, hey, maybe it's not for me, but not everything has to be. And I think that's
Right.
the biggest fallacy with
But
so
I
many
know
of these
George taught
creatives.
me. I know
Exactly.
George. Let me explain to you
I'm in the
exactly what
loop.
about the.
That's-
Yeah.
Yep.
Let me explain to you exactly why the Darth Maul scene in Phantom Menace this, and he breaks it down brilliantly. But
Mhm.
it's still there's certain things about the Clone Wars and other things that
Right.
are still. He's like, well, listen to why it's really great, and you're like, maybe it is really great because he explains it so well. But in the overall grand scheme of things, you've got to make it work for everyone if you want it to be a
100%.
major brand again.
But that to me is ultimately the sign of a good leader. A good
It
leader
can be.
at the end of the day is not getting in your own way.
Yeah.
So the
we'll see.
idea of what you just started to say, both of you, of understanding the thing that you love and are passionate about can be really good, but it is not the only good that exists.
Yeah.
And so being willing to take other things in and let that kind of also
True. All right, we got so much more to discuss on this story because we didn't even get to the rest of the actual exit interview. So before we do though, I got to tell you guys, I'm amped up right now. Why? Because I have my coffee. That's right, Trade Coffee. Love Trade Coffee, and then I'm eating well today. Why? Because I got Factor, both of them. Here you go. Check this shit out. You guys know how much I love my coffee. You guys know how much I love my Trade Coffee, and I'll tell you, if you haven't done it right, now is the time. If you want to upgrade your morning routine, you have to start with your coffee. Trade turns your daily cup into a moment of discovery. What it does is it pairs you with fresh roasts from the country's best local roasters, tailored to exactly what you love. It's a tiny monthly surprise that you look forward to every month. That is fact. I love saying, you know what? I'm going to try something new. I'm going to go with a dark roast here today. And the next thing you know, I'm waiting by my door and I'm like, ooh, I can't wait to see because I'm always satisfied. I love Trade. Well, what is Trade, Kristian? I haven't heard you talk about them. Of course you have. Or you're brand new because I've been talking about them forever. Trade is the #1 coffee destination in the U.S. Their team of expert baristas, tasters, Q-graders use real coffee knowledge to match you with coffees that you love. They curate over 500 coffees so you can try something new with every delivery. Do it for the smell alone. Your house is going to smell wonderful. Each bag is roasted to order and delivered fresh to your door at prices comparable to grocery brands, but with cafe-level quality in every cup. You take Trade's quiz. They find you a perfect match. If your first bag isn't quite to your liking, they're going to replace it for free as part of their first bag guarantee policy. I love it. I've been really digging the dark roast lately, but I like the different variety. I always try something new. I try to switch it up, and that's what I love about Trade. Right now, Trade is offering 50% off a 1-month trial at drinktrade.com/Christian. That's drinktrade.com/Christian. Get 50% off 1 month. Drinktrade.com/Christian. Please try Trade if you haven't done it, or renew your subscription. It is the best. You guys know how much I love Trade.
Hey, Willie!
Factor. How many times have I talked about Factor? Why do I talk about them so much? Because I love them. New year, big goals. And you got no time to cook. Well, that's why Factor is the best. They make it so easy with fully prepared meals designed by dietitians, crafted by chefs. You can eat well without the shopping or cooking. I love that there's so much quality to it. It's lean proteins, colorful veggies, whole food ingredients, healthy fats. That's what I love about it. You guys know that the last year, it's been a health journey for me, and I got to find the right things to eat. And for me, Factor fits my goals. I can eat healthy. I can manage my calories. There's more protein. It's the best. There's over 100 rotating weekly meals. Just choosing through them, it's so much fun. Mouth-watering, to be honest. Plus, there's a new Muscle Pro collection, which supports strength and recovery. It's always fresh, never frozen, ready in about 2 minutes. There's no prep. There's no stress. It is the best. I love it. You guys know I've been talking about it forever. Listen, I was eating Factor even before I was trying to stay healthy. And now, man, I was one step ahead. Head on over to factormeals.com/Christian50 off. Use that code Christian50 off to get 50% off your first Factor box, plus free breakfast for 1 year. I love breakfast. Offer only valid for new Factor customers with code and qualifying auto-renewing subscription purchase. Make healthier eating easy with Factor. Thank you to Factor. Thank you to Trade. Make sure links are in the description for that. You help out the show tremendously when you get yourself something wonderful. What a deal that is. All right, we got some more. And Chris, my goal is every single time something stupid like that happens is just as long as I can make you laugh, then I know that I've done it. So
That killed me.
I just got caught. What was that? Someone have a gong in the back? What was that?
Oh,
That might have been a dog coughing.
Oh, okay. Anyway, so let's go back to the article, because there's more stuff in there that we can dive into. Now, I know that Chris and Winston might have to jump out a little today, normal time, but this show might go longer today because this is a story that's been in the works for the last 5-10 years. And what I will say, Chris, I don't think that Kathleen Kennedy ever actually announced her retirement and then came back.
No, it kept just being articles.
Right. Everyone was always like, when is she leaving? I remember being at Collider. Yeah. She's leaving soon. And I've been at Collider in almost 7 years. And it's like, they kept saying, it's time. She's leaving, because she stuck around for a long time. Like after a couple of different losses that you said she hadn't had a movie come out in the theater since 2019 for Star Wars. Indiana Jones did not do well, lost a lot of money. The last couple of shows have not been hits, minus Andor, right? So there's not a lot of wins there that would keep somebody. And look back, Winston, as we were talking about, like with coaching, you'd assume, well, they had a losing season again. They're probably going to get fired. Oh, they had another losing season, probably going to get fired. Another losing and sticking around. That shows you the respect that she had more so than anything else. I used to joke that she had naked pictures of Bob Iger, but I really also because I'm kidding, because it's the respect that she garnered as a producer.
Well, the funny thing is, the reason I specifically chose Tomlin as the example, and again, I know there's not a lot of people in here that watch football, and those that do will kind of get it. Tomlin, again, always had the winning season. For the most part, kept going to the playoff. He hadn't won a playoff game since 2016. It's right. Kind of the same, and hadn't won a Super Bowl since like before the, I think the one he won was in like 2007 or 8, something like that. So my point is while you remained relevant and you would see things and be like, damn, Grogu is blowing up the chart. Like the Grogu doll is the thing to have. Like you literally, yes, that's your winning season, but then you get to the playoffs and you blow it.
Right.
Like immediately.
Right.
And so it feels like
what's your follow-up game? What's your follow-up game?
I don't give a damn what you did in the regular season if you can't produce in the
playoffs.
And that's
right. When your playoff game is Boba Fett, you're in trouble.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like the Boba Fett should have been a layup. That should have been a layup of a story to do because he is such a beloved character. And instead, you had people go, do I actually hate Boba Fett? Like, am I more concerned about the like essentially Power Rangers in space, like dudes doing like turns and flips off their little mopeds, and that I don't like. That is where I think that analogy works, and also just from the standpoint of why, again, it has more than been time, and people have been chanting "Fire Kathleen," like is because you have all of this just raw talent and IP that you can use, and yet somehow you've mismanaged it.
I know. Yeah. Well, I mean. Yeah, that's one of the things. All right, like Chris, I want you to we're gonna let's get to this article a little bit more. We'll dive a little deeper into the Hollywood Reporter, and then we'll get your thoughts on some of the stuff that she says here. So check this out. Here, let me just drive this right here. Hold on, everybody. Shout out to our producer Luke here, who did this little screenshot, which I really like. Okay, let's see. Where is it? All right, here we go. Perfect. All right. So while the movie side of Star Wars faltered after Rise of Skywalker, Kennedy's decision to bring in Favreau to create and launch in the first live-action Star Wars TV series proved to be a win beyond anyone's expectation. This Mandalorian shot Baby Yoda into pop culture, and the initial seasons not only restored Star Wars' golden stature, but became the flagship show for Disney Plus when it launched in 2019. Series that followed, however, had mixed results, with one, the 2024 show, The Acolyte, being outright rejected by a certain faction of sometimes tempered fan base. I think that's unfair. It wasn't just a certain faction. A lot of people. There was a lot of people who loved that show, no doubt. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of people just outside of a certain faction that didn't like that, and I myself being one of them. Andor, on the opposite end of the spectrum, showed Star Wars could be used to tell stories with political themes. I think that's a damaging thing to do, what they just did there. I think that just leads to that was a damaging thing what they did. They shouldn't have wrote that. It became a showcase for its actors and ended its run with 5 Emmys and 22 nominations. Overall, Star Wars series under Kennedy have landed 85 Emmy noms. Coming up will be a second season of Ahsoka and the animated Maul Shadow Lord series. Lucasfilm in recent years also undertook reviving Ron Howard's Willow series on Disney Plus, as well as a 5th and final Indiana Jones movie, but neither found the hoped-for audience. The new leadership arrives with its own set of questions. Filoni is known for his intimate arcane franchise knowledge, which served him well in animation, but less so in live action. Season 3 of The Mandalorian and Season 1 of Ahsoka dealt with intricate facts of inter-clan rivalry and Jedi witches that were perhaps too in the weeds for casual viewers. He was also set to make his live-action feature directorial debut with a movie that combined characters from these series, but that movie was put on the back burner, and Favreau's The Mandalorian and Grogu is now opening this spring. Observers point out that under Filoni and Brennan, the franchise could see a continuation of many of the practices and priorities set forth under Kennedy. After all, both have been at Lucasfilm for years and part of the institution. Others point out that the company stepped back from announcing projects, both feature and TV, last year, and as Kennedy negotiated her exit and a search for successors took place. For all intents and purposes, the company was spinning its wheels. Now, these sources say Lucasfilm can move ahead with full force as it seeks to recapture the excitement and creativity of a more civilized age. On Thursday, Disney's top brass Kennedy gave a send-off with CEO Bob Iger recalling, "When we acquired Lucasfilm more than a decade ago, we knew that we were bringing into the Disney family not only one of the most beloved and enduring storytelling universes ever created, but also a team of extraordinary talent led by a visionary filmmaker, someone who had been handpicked by Lucas himself, no less." Added Bergman, Kathleen Kennedy has been a tremendous force in the industry for 50 years, and it's our privilege to have her at Disney for leading Lucasfilm for nearly 14 of them. The journey to reawaken the force won't be straightforward. The franchise has always struggled to appease those nostalgic for the classic stories and characters, a fan base with strict ideas on what Star Wars means, and those who believe that evolving is the only way that the brand doesn't get stuck in amber. This week, in a prophetic move, Disneyland announced a pivot at Star Wars Land. It will phase out characters and storylines created during the Kennedy-run sequels, such as Kylo Ren, and bring back Vader and other Lucas creations. Is that it? Luke, can you send me the exit interview thing that she did? I want to see I want to see some of that in there as well. All right, to follow that up there, it's like same thing. It's like let's start with the idea of that, the Galaxy's Edge side of it, and bringing in now Vader and changing that up. I don't have an issue with that. As I said yesterday, I think that when you look at it, business is business. If they feel like that's going to bring more people in, okay, the new trilogy had their run there. Now they're going to do some of the classic stuff. I hate this idea of, you're bending the knee to people who it's business. But I don't know, Chris, what do you think about that? And do you think that was a Kennedy decision, or is that part of the new strategy moving forward post?
I feel like that's the new strategy moving forward. And as sad as I will be to not flirt with Kylo Ren at Disneyland and try to get him to take me away, it makes sense. It makes sense. And this is the thing with Disney too. Everything is cyclical, right? We have the throwback 90s stuff where then I can go and see like, oh my gosh, they have, Powerline. They've got Max from Goof Troop. They have Darkwing Duck. They don't have those guys walking around all the time. And that's fine because that is from the past. You can always shift out and have different characters pop in. And this is something they've been doing constantly with Marvel, of having, hey, we're going to have Wolverine and Deadpool walking around.
Right,
we're going to have some of our other characters pop in. And then what they've been smart about with that is doing them almost as limited releases. Hey, during this time, you could come see this person here. So changing it up and having like, you can come see the original Trinity folks, right? You can be here and see a Luke or Leia, or we have all new characters. Hey, you can see Ryan Gosling's character walking around. You can go do this other thing.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see the new shift just because like the whole Black Spire has a whole storyline to it, right? Where you can go there and you can be part of the resistance and you can help, keep the spark up and keep going with everything.
Sure.
And the idea of that is really cool so that you are in this almost immersive LARPing experience while you're at Disney. However, I don't think that everyone takes advantage of that or wants to participate in that. And, you can then utilize your characters who are staff at the end of the day, right? They're all cast members, but they're staff and they're paid employees. You can use them in a more effective way that makes more sense for you to promote new movies or to appeal to what the people in the park want.
Right. And I also understand that at the time when they launched it, they wanted to really still promote their movies that I think at the same time that the Rise of Skywalker hadn't even come out yet when they started promoting that there. So of course they wanted to do it. But since then, you cannot argue that out of the three trilogies, it is the least popular. I did a poll on the channel yesterday, Winston. So what do you think? I asked what the originals, the prequels, or sequels. Out of 10,000 people that voted, what do you think the percentages were? In a general, you don't have to be on the dot, but
I'll probably say roughly about 70 original, like 20 prequel and 10 sequel.
You're very, very close. 72 for originals, 24 for the prequels, 4% for the sequels. Out of 10,000 people, 4%. And that's only 10,000 people here. It wouldn't have changed much as it keeps going on. So you switch it up a little bit. You change it up. And that is also why I think that, the narrative needs to change. I hope that what didn't happen in that meeting with Kathleen's like, okay, guys, I'm giving this, continue the fight, what we're doing here, continue what we're doing and keep doing this and we'll find the stories in the same way that we've been looking for it now. Their approach has been wrong. It just hasn't worked. And you can say what you want about certain parts of the fan base. It doesn't mean that they don't buy tickets. So when you have, and I've always said this, when you have an IP, like I always push back on people. Like I've talked about, look, there is a side of this fan base that loves everything. And no matter what you do, you could fart into a bag. That's the best thing that anyone has ever done in Star Wars. And then for the same side, you have the same people that just, you got the best thing in the world and they hate it no matter what. But it's those people in the middle that they have to really grab and get them interested again in Star Wars in the same way Marvel and DC has to do. But the side of it is, when you have, it's okay you have to understand though, that both of these people need to buy tickets. The people with the fart in the bag, they're going to see everything they're going to buy tickets. The people that hate everything, if you start giving them stuff around, whatever it might be, like if you are listening to them, you need to, because it's the size of the audience when it comes to this IP. It's the size of the audience. It's not just if you're making stories, and that's what I said about The Acolyte. The Acolyte was a smaller, if it was a smaller show, and if it was just catered towards one particular audience, and you made it for like $40 million, then go for it. But when you're making a show for $230 million, you have to appease everyone. You just have to. And so it's not something that you have to take on. You unfortunately have to take it on the chin, because people are like, oh, you can't appease them. You're running a brand. So I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do here, Winston.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I think where a lot of studios are running into issues is their analysis of why something works tends to be off. So instead of looking at The Mandalorian and being, okay, what's working here, they oversaturated the market with it to the point where then people got sick of it. So, well,
they brought Grogu back. No, Winston, go back to that, because in those first 2 seasons, that's the first time fart in a bag and I hate
We're on the same page.
Same page.
But then where they
Season
messed
3,
up.
They brought Grogu back.
And I understand that, but then I also think about Book of Boba Fett. You like, again, when I mean you oversaturated, there was a point at which it was like, yeah, we do love this. What do we love about this? And then like just keep giving them the same thing.
That's what I'm saying. They didn't need to bring Grogu back, and they bring him back because they're like, oh no, what do we do without Grogu now? Oh no, what do we do without Grogu? Let's bring him back. Let's bring him back in Boba Fett, and it's like just trust in your story, because the third one was cameo. Season 3, look. Katie is a dear friend. She was the best part of the whole damn thing. The season was not good. Wasn't good. And partially because a lot of stuff, look, as I said, and I was talking about Night of the Seven Kingdoms that's coming out. And someone's like, oh, should I be worried about the 30-minute episodes? No, because they write enough dialogue and there's enough stuff in there to develop characters in that 30 minutes. They use it wisely. They're not just battling the monster of the week. Oh, here's another big, large monster. Let's laser shoot them in a cave. What about our story? What about Bo-Katan? She's going to tell a speech. Cut that down. We don't need to hear that speech. It's like, yeah, you do. Develop her more for the people who haven't seen the cartoon, Dave. So that's what I wonder going into it. But Chris, I've been talking a lot. I'm sorry. What do you say?
That's okay. I mean, I am probably closer to the fart in the bag camp. Where, I mean,
what a sentence.
I already don't have a sense of smell, so I'm like, it's fine in here. It's fine. I'm okay.
Fair.
But even I have had some moments though of I don't know about this. Like Tavaro from Rob and John, the Vespa gang in Boba Fett was too far for me. There were some moments with Grogu and the Mandalorian. I don't hate the Lizzo Jack Black stuff as much as everyone else.
Oh my
I'm sorry.
Either. Oh my God.
It's fine. It's fine. Is it great? No. Is it fine? It's fine.
It was what they call in some parts of town horrendous.
But again, as a fart in a bagger, I'm pretty okay with it.
Fart in a bagger.
But they do. There is a difference too. I want to be very clear about appeasing everyone, like making something that is so milquetoast that it's fine, to intriguing every side of the camp. Right. And so, and I think that is the tricky balancing act here is how do you make it so it is accessible so that people who are new to Star Wars or don't know the deep, deep lore and aren't going to talk to you about the intrinsic nature of kyber crystals going to get in here. But how are you going to get to the people who go, no, canonically that is incorrect and you need to do this and this is so weird. So it is finding that middle ground. And to me, honestly, it comes back to the nature of Star Wars is it's a story about uprising over a authoritarian regime. That's it. That's all it is at the end of the day, if we're focused on that kind of core story. So you can either go back to the basics of that and give me like an Andor or like a Skeleton Crew, whichever end of the spectrum you want to go to, that dives into that kind of initial dynamic, or focus on the sci-fi nature of it. Star Wars is just such a weird and interesting IP because, and I've said it before, in its original iteration, it really wasn't sci-fi. It was fantasy that put some space costumes on top of it.
Fantasy sci-fi, yeah.
Yeah,
It was space opera, yeah.
Exactly. It's at
Yeah.
the end of the day, it really is kind of like space wizards, you
Yeah.
know?
Mhm.
And so you can then either explore that mysticism side, as we've seen kind of dabbled with, but Filoni gets so up his own stuff that then we get lost in the sauce. So there does need to be this balancing act of, hey, can you explain this for me without spoon feeding me? And can you still give me a really intriguing story that is accessible for all of us, but still is going to keep those kind of glass pushing actuallys in the crowd as well? And that's
Yeah.
a hard thing to do. And I think it's so easy for all of us to say, here's what I would do. Here's what I would change in my Star Wars. Go write your fan fiction, kids. I love that for you. Okay.
And people are doing that now with AI. And I'll tell you that a lot of these stories that are coming out on AI, some of these things, it's like from Dave Filoni, I'm picking on what I'm not watching that. What? Hey, maybe we should do this because they're making way better shit on those channels than they are in Lucasfilm right now. I can tell you that.
Well, and I think if you're just not contained to like the idea of what the sandbox has to be,
Yeah.
then you can open yourself up to so many more possibilities.
Maybe so. I found that exit interview. Luke sent it to me, so it kind of goes over the future of the project. So I want to go over that, and then we'll get to your questions in just a minute. The 25 right now, they need a 112 to tie. So could they get another win? We shall see. We shall see. Love that. All right. This is the exit interview with Deadline that Kathleen Kennedy gave. Now, again, she's been preparing for this for a bit. This does show the pro side of her. Like, you know, it's calculated. She knew how she was going to do it. She found her successors, and now she's doing her interviews. Lucasfilm has percolated a lot of future Star Wars films and generated many hours of Disney Plus series in recent years. Talk about this combination of Filoni and Brennan and how you finally loosening your grip on the reins. She said, 2 years ago, I went to Bob and Alan to figure out what the transition plan would be, and I made the recommendation that it be Dave Filoni and Lou Brennan, the latter of who has been running the business alongside me. She comes out of ILM 16 years as a general manager and then transitioned into being the general manager for Lucasfilm. She has been my key financial partner, my business partner running the company. Dave is the perfect person to transition, but he hadn't made a movie, and I worked very closely with him, beginning with Rogue One, to get him a feel of how live action works. His background is animation, as he worked with George on Clone Wars. He's very talented, immersed in Star Wars. He and Pablo Hidalgo are like the walking encyclopedias inside the company. They always have the answers when you ask, hey, can I do this with a lightsaber, or what colors were the sabers, or anything you need to know what has come before. Dave has now spent all the seasons of The Mandalorian working with Jon Favreau, who's been a great mentor to him. And then he went off and did Ahsoka, which came from some of the stories he was telling in Clone Wars. He was able to create the season 1 of Ahsoka, and now he's just finishing directing season 2 and writing all the episodes. That scares the shit out of me. He finished that in October. But my point is, we've been talking about this for 2 years. That's what that goes to one of my points, guys, is that there's no world, like, he's so possessive over Ahsoka. There's no world where you should write that whole season by yourself. Bring it. I have so much access to good writing. What are you doing? Kennedy, that is not happening here. I told everybody I would stick around a bit longer than I had intended to, but I'm so ready to go off and have the chance to make lots of movies. I want to do more movies. I want the opportunity to get back to a kind of eclectic group of movies that I used to. I'm looking forward to working with Frank again on some stuff. Which, of course, is talking about her husband. He has been doing lots of documentaries and having a ball. I'm also really interested in new technology, I have to say, to which I said AI. Yes, I'm interested in exploring using those tools in responsible ways and working out the complications around trying to figure out what we're trying to do in terms of protecting artists' rights. That is vitally important, but at the same time, there's nothing more exciting than having new tools that can expand on what you're capable of doing in terms of creating visual language around stories. I've had a unique opportunity to be around a lot of that over the years and witness those changes. I genuinely feel like we're entering that moment again where we're going to see things we've never seen before, and I think that's just really exciting. Is there some past breakthrough that compares to potential game-changing streamers? The AI stuff is very interesting too, and I'd like to explore it on a future episode. I just want to we don't have much time, so I want to get to the future episodes things. Okay, you just wrapped the 6th film in the Star Wars universe. Is Starfighter meant to be an ongoing theatrical series? It was always envisioned as a single film. Sean Levy just made the experience so pleasant for everybody, and we found this 14-year-old kid out of Ireland who had virtually no experience. That's always risky, hanging a story so much on a child actor. You're not exactly how comfortable they're going to be. Flynn Gray turned out to be such a special kid. When you get cast, a lot of it becomes about the parents. He has great parents and got lucky there too. Not only was there Ryan Gosling, the movie is structured in a way that he had kind of a new actor coming in every few weeks. He was one-on-one with Matt Smith, Amy Adams, Aaron Pierre, and each one, it was so great to watch him because he would just get so excited by the actors he got to work with. It was like he was the best. He was in the best university you could possibly be in. Let's see more. I'm going to get more into the projects themselves. Hold on a second. Okay. No. Okay. So what about the question I asked earlier? Sounds like Sean will be a willing returnee, and you've made a discovery with this kid from Ireland. Are we going to watch him grow up in an arc of pictures? We could, but this was designed as a real standalone. We have the Mandalorian movie with Jon Favreau coming out, which also was great, and a completely different Star Wars movie that comes out in May. And as soon as I get back into town, I'm sitting down with John and looking at that. Whole time I've been shooting Starfighter and working on effects that are going into the movie. We finished shooting in November. We've had a long post on that, and so I'll oversee a lot of those effects shots cut into John's movie, and I'll myself re-immerse and get that finished. With Sean's movie, this could go on, but it's not our intention right now. AKA, let's wait to see if it makes money. We really made the movie as a standalone story, but you cannot ignore the fact that this young actor is so good. I will be very surprised if he doesn't go on and we don't try to see if there will be future stories, AKA if it makes a lot of money. But it was kind of nice not going to this and not having to think that way. We could just make a movie and tell a story. Totally fair and smart. Deadline. What have been the highs and lows of running a company built on such a beloved IP? Which you said the highs include realizing how many people love Star Wars. The majority of people and certain people that I run into and people outside the business, they love Star Wars. They love the movies. They might love all the shows. They might love some of the shows. But when I came into this, I realized a few things. We had walked in at a moment that there hadn't been any movies for 10 years or so, but there was still the memory of the greatest series of movies in cinema history. So you're walking into something that has enormous expectations. Yet at the same time, you know, you've got to find new characters and you have to expand the galaxy, and you need to think about who the new audience is. That's what I feel that I did. And that's what I feel all the people that I worked with over the last decade did. The highs bring in a new audience. I think we did find new characters. We continue to find new characters. The lows are that you have to have you've got a very, very small percentage of the fan base that has enormous expectations and basically want to continue to see pretty much the same thing. And if you're not going to do that, then you know you're going to disappoint them. I'm not sure there's anything you can do about that because you can't please everybody. All you can do is try to tell good stories and try to stick to the essence of what George created. He embedded incredible values into Star Wars and what it has to say. The whole idea of hope and fun and entertainment is what he's done over all these years, and that's what I tried to preserve. And I wouldn't do that any differently, and I wouldn't change that what we've done over the years. I understand why some people like certain things more than others, but that's not going to change why I decided to do certain things and why I decided to work with the people that I worked with. I think everybody that came into Star Wars space, they love Star Wars and was first and foremost important. You want to have people coming into Star Wars and wanting to tell stories, yada, yada, yada. Back when I want to get more into these future films. Let's see. Where is it? Hold on a second. Sorry. It's always great when movies make us feel one way. This is from Deadline. I felt it on Oppenheimer, most recently on One Battle After Another, and especially in Sinners, the audacity of Ryan Coogler to veer from that sultry blues number in that club to the imagery of people past and present from Africa to Compton, where you could see the connective tissue and historical influences past and present to form of music. Coogler went into that genre sandbox and turned it completely on its ear and made it relevant to everyone as they thought about their own tribal roots and origin stories. I don't think I'd ever see that in a movie I never thought I'd see a movie like that. I imagine you'd give your IT to have a guy like that see what he could do in Star Wars. Oh, trust me, Mike, this is a part of what I try to do. Sit with the people that I would love to step into this thing, but Star Wars isn't really Ryan's thing. The trickiest thing is to find a filmmaker and say, you can step into this space and you still be you. Okay. Let's get to what the fans are eager to know. Progress on films and series by filmmakers who are committed to putting in 3 to 5 years. Rian Johnson, James Mangold, Simon Kinberg, Taika. Where are their projects? I have to tread a bit carefully here. Mangold and Beau Willimon wrote an incredible script, but it's definitely breaking the mold and it's on hold. That's shocking news. Taika has turned in a script that I think is hilarious and great. It's not just my decision, especially when I've got a foot out the door. Donald Glover has turned in a script, and as you have read, Steven Soderbergh and Adam Driver turned in a script written by Scott Burns. It was just great. Anything's a possibility if somebody's willing to take a risk. I remember when I came into this job, the first thing Iger said to me was be bold. I've always liked that because I think you have to be bold. You have to be willing to take risks with people and ideas. Otherwise, you're just doing the same thing. Right now, we're in an era where companies are so risk averse, and I get it. I hear all the conversations. They've got Wall Street to please, and I get it. But I also believe that's what contributes to things disappearing. I just think you have to take chances. Everything I just reeled off to you is just taking a chance because none of those filmmakers are just walking in trying to do the same old, same old. I'm excited by that, but the studio's nervous about that, and that's where it sits. And then you asked for Rian Johnson. Clearly, the Rian Johnson thing isn't going to happen. We said it a long time ago. Okay, so that's good enough to kind of dive into this at the moment. So I think that the thing that, Winston, that makes me at the very end of it that I hope what made Marvel work, and speaking that we've talked about capes, with this being a Capes and Cal show adjacent today, one of the things that made Marvel MCU work so well from phases 1 to 3, there was a clear-cut plan. They had an idea of where they wanted to go from each movie. They would kind of design certain things that ultimately would go there. They'd bring in someone like a Ryan Coogler, and they'd say, look, we want your stamp on this. We want you to make this your thing, but we need it to be able to go here. And some directors didn't like that. Some directors took off and said, well, I want to make my own thing. And I'm like, well, we have an agenda. We've got to go somewhere, put your stamp on it, but take us here in a way that they did with like Peyton Reed and Ant-Man, right? Star Wars has not done that yet, the new regime in Star Wars. And Kathleen Kennedy just said it. It's like all these filmmakers come in, they have great ideas. But what's your idea? What's your idea of the overall arc that these filmmakers can contribute to? And do you think that will change?
I mean, I would take what you said and say that it was actually worse than that. It wasn't just that she didn't have ideas. She would say, yo, that sounds hella good. I'm a little too afraid, though, to let you actually do it. Like she even said, she's like, so-and-so turned in the script. It was awesome. And so, like, there is even an idea to trust other people's ideas. And it felt like at a certain point, she stopped doing even that. So I think that, yes, that is something that will have to change. Again, based off of what you're talking about with Filoni, I hope we don't end up in a situation where, yeah, he has an idea, but it's so rigid, you don't bring anything in.
Right.
But there is something to be said about somebody that knows that maybe they don't have the full they know a few things, but they don't have the full wherewithal, but they hire the right people to do it. If you're going to keep hiring these people and making announcements that you're hiring these people, but then you don't actually let them do the thing that they were going to do, I think that was probably the biggest curse out of the Last Jedi split that ended up happening and how people felt about Rian Johnson. It put the type of fear in her that she became almost indecisive. And then even where like the flip-flopping of, well, no, Ryan's gone, but then put JJ on The Rise of Skywalker. We got the
it was before JJ. It was Colin Trevorrow, and then she got rid of him.
It was Ryan and then Trevorrow, and then you're right, and then JJ. So that whole scenario. Then again, you just listed all the different people that turned stuff in that they never like kind of go forward.
Well, to be fair on her in this interview, though, too, what she said, it seemed, Chris, like she was alluding to not that she wasn't willing to take the risk. It seemed like the studio was saying, no, we're not taking risks. But she wasn't calling out Disney particular, but she was saying, in order to make these movies work, I get it, you got to answer to Wall Street, but you got to take some shots.
That was my interpretation too, of calling out as a whole, this industry is very risk adverse. And we've seen it time and time again. But on that same note, we've seen when tiny little films with small budgets get like some kind of push behind them just because of some kind of belief. You look at some of the stuff that A24 has done. You look at, K-pop Demon Hunters, the big push that they did with that. You can have great success if you take that big swing and really believe in what you've put out there. And to me, that's the other part of this is, yes, this industry is risk adverse. Yes, you do need to take chances. We need studios to stand behind those chances too.
Yep.
Because how often have we seen with Disney in particular, we're just going to kind of drop it. We're just going to kind of throw it out there. And we've talked about it on here before too, of stand behind your choices, really, really own up to the stuff that you've made. When somebody feels cringy about their own content, we all feel it, right? We know it. It's why it's the same kind of thing as when you watch The Office and you feel that secondhand embarrassment. You feel that from the studios when they casually release something. So for twofold, I think that's something that Kennedy addresses here, but not enough of, we do need to take risks, but we also need to champion those risks, stand behind them, and then give the people who we've bet on that kind of carte blanche, honestly, to go, yeah, go with it. Follow what you were doing instead of then doing this weird thing we've seen from Disney through Marvel, through Star Wars, etc. of then, well, let's reshoot some stuff to make it a little bit more palpable.
Yeah, the devil's advocate side to that is that Disney bought an IP that at the time was 1950s baseball, which means it was America's pastime.
Yeah.
And by the time they got to more risk being made, it was now pickleball. which pickleball is still a big thing, but it's not. It's like compared to, I mean, shit. We could even call it miniature golf at this point, because it's
Sport
not.
I know.
Yeah, it's not
Okay.
football. It's not baseball. It ain't hockey. Like, it's just, there's no love behind it right now. There's just not. It still has the potential. And so if you're Disney, you're going, hey, we don't need risk right now. We need safe, because we need a win. Because the argument would be, which I've always said, look, if you go over Kathleen Kennedy's people, and I guess I'm going to answer a super chat early here. Someone said, like, what would you rank her tenure, right? It depends on what you're asking me about. If you're asking me if I'm hiring her to make money for me in the theater, she's going to get a B+ or an A- as far as making. She's only had one loss two losses, including Indiana Jones. So maybe a B, maybe a B, maybe a B-. I don't know, maybe, because Indiana Jones was a big loss. There's no world where that movie should cost over $300 million. I don't care about COVID or not. It's ridiculous. So minus Star Wars, and then you're pushing in a B+, because Solo, I don't really blame for her with the loss, as I mentioned earlier. Money wise, she made $1 billion. She made $2 billion on the first one. She made a lot of whatever you think. I don't like The Last Jedi. Made a lot of money. Rogue One made a lot of money. Rise of Skywalker, yes, it didn't make as much as everything else. Still made $1 billion in the time of when movies were making $1 billion. So as an executive, she probably gets on a Star Wars movies B+, maybe A-. As a creative, I'm going C-. Because of everything I just said before. Because if you're Disney, you're going of what I just said with that money. If you really get the creative of it, then there's no world that Rise of Skywalker shouldn't have made $2 billion. And there's no world where, Last Jedi shouldn't have. Yeah, Ryan, great idea. Have Luke throw the thing over his shoulders. That's going to get everybody on board. I don't give a shit if people say, oh, it was so great that they took that shot. You cannot argue that it divided and almost destroyed the fan base with one movie. That's not smart when you're trying to build out overall. I don't care what you think. Well, it's such a great, smart move. There's tons of Last Jedi fans, tons of them, but it divided the fan base. I know, sure, there's tons, Chris, tons. I get into these arguments all the time about it, but you can't argue, as being a Last Jedi fan, it divided the fan base.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
it did, but I would also argue that there was a way to handle it, and I don't think let's just undo everything and throw in an ultra. The Emperor's just randomly alive.
Sure.
Like
no,
the
Colin Trevorrow's script was the best. It added both of those. Now whether he would have directed it well, who knows?
But that, I think, that's what I mean about being so scared into indecision. You were so off put by what happened. Instead of making minor adjustments and staying the course or whatever, you did a full 180. And the problem with that is now you don't seem like you stand by your convictions. And that is where people start to all of a sudden go, yo, who is running the ship? What is happening right now? Like, if you are the leader, yes, you got to take your slings and arrows, but you have to, like, stand up for something. And
that plan. You gotta have a plan.
You got exactly.
There was no plan.
Yeah.
I said that back in the day. There was no plan. They made money off of the Star Wars name because it was Star Wars. The first one, The Force Awakens, was going to make money no matter what. Force Awakens was going to make money. Now you had to, and Rogue One making $1 billion was them going, all right, Star Wars is moving. Star Wars, we got this. And then that's when it just started to fall. But as far as the other movies, I still don't think we're ever going to see a Taika movie, nor do I think that we should. Because she wrote in that article, she said, "Oh, I read it. It's hilarious." No, thank you. No, thank you. I don't think we need a hilarious Star Wars movie right now. We don't. We need to get in to push back on what she said a little bit too. And I think a lot of people will push back on me for saying this. I don't think it's just about people just wanting the old when it comes to Star Wars. It's not just about that. That's not what people are upset about. It's the feeling and the essence of what was there, whether it was the feeling and essence of the prequels or the feeling and the essence in the original trilogy, even in Rogue One. That feeling is gone. Like, even the Acolyte didn't really feel like a Star Wars show. Like the Boba Fett on the volume didn't really feel like Star Wars. It is like there's something about it. Mandalorian season 1 and season 2 did, and that combined new with a bit of the old. So you're kind of combating or contradicting yourself there, because what you did with Mandalorian season 1, season 2, and the reason the fan bases came together is because you found that formula for those 2 seasons of how to get everybody on board. Most people, the majority of people love those 2 seasons, even the haters, the fart in the back, everybody. Most people. So that's what you can find inside of it. You can do an Old Republic show that is new, fresh, new characters, not Star Wars related, Skywalker related, that still feels like the essence of Star Wars in the way that Knights of the Republic did. So I don't agree with the way that she put that, because there are some people that, I want to see Vader and everything. Yeah, sure. Those people, that Vader's done. I'd like to see certain stories if he's going to pop up and you're going to be able to use them in the way that and again, she's contradicting herself. They want to see some of the old. Well, you put Vader in Obi-Wan. He says some of the old. You just did it terribly. You did. Yeah. You threw in a new character in there that, and nothing against her. It didn't work. Character didn't work. Nobody wanted to see that.
You know what this is coming back to, Kristian, and I think I'm starting to decipher specifically through what you're saying where we're running into trouble. This isn't being made from a place of creativity. This is being made from a place of just business.
Just business.
And that will always falter.
It's all business, but it can't be just business.
Right. Like the secret of show business is the show part. If you legitimately are so worried about the numbers, it doesn't mean that you don't think about the numbers. But if you are only worried about the numbers and how will we go make $1 billion, you're going to suffer, because why people are connecting is the passion that comes through. So what Favreau and Filoni started off doing with The Mandalorian, we could feel the passion in it, and that it read like a Western. It read like classic Star Wars. It gave us the stuff that we wanted.
In Obi-Wan, at the end of Mandalorian, was a season 2, whatever, Boba Fett walks in, Bib Fortuna is there and murders him right there and takes him out, murders him. He's like, that's the show, I'm in. And then he's like, I am Boba Fett. We know who you are. Kill somebody.
Yes.
It's like, it was horrible. They didn't even know what they were doing anymore. And it was, and like you said, Power Rangers in space. It's like they lost the narrative of it. Like, so I don't buy into the nonsense. Oh, fans just want to see the same shit. No, fans like when you do shit like you did at the end with that Boba Fett scene, but then deliver on it. Deliver on the stuff that you were already setting up, and deliver on good writing, and deliver on good production, and build on it. Fans don't just want to see the old stuff. We want to see good stuff. And you didn't give us good stuff. And so I don't buy into that narrative. Oh, they just want to see the old stuff. They just want to see Luke and everything. It's not the case. So anyway, that's a lot of stuff.
I want Boba Fett to be a dare officer.
No. Right.
Why did Boba Fett feel like a mix of a dare officer and Smokey the Bear at the same time?
They ran into the same thing that they did when they made Maleficent a good guy. It's like, Boba Fett was challenged morally, but he was again to combat what she said about, they just want to see the old. Well, when you brought Boba Fett back into Mandalorian season 2, you did it masterfully. With that Robert Rodriguez stuff, he did it masterfully in the way that he played it. And he was he had that edge to him. You saw, that was the guy that I saw in Empire Strikes Back. He's older now, but that's the guy. And then you turned him into this thing in season 2. Even Tamora knew. I talked too much. I had the helmet on. I had the helmet off too much. Should have been, doing who Boba was.
Bro, that was I have said this multiple times about why that Halo series was garbage, and a lot of it had to do with the fact that you went outside of what worked. Don't take the helmet off, because in Halo, because it's anybody could be the Master Chief. If you want to do this like the finale or something, fine, but don't do it.
No, and
same thing with the mysterious Boba Fett who just came in through a damn thermal detonator.
And maybe this is part. That's right. Maybe this is part of the take chances side of it, right? Like, because Favreau sold a false bag of goods with that show, because what he said was, this is going to be the Sopranos of Star Wars. I'm like, sign me up,
bro.
Sign me up. And I was like, maybe Rodney Soprano, who lives in Jersey and hasn't got off his couch in 25 years. Maybe that's who it was based off of. But it had nothing to do with that. And maybe that's where the risk. Maybe they had a show like that where he was just bad dude doing gangster shit, and then Disney's like, we can't have a gangster in a kid show doing the whole thing. It's like that's when you need a leader to fight and say, no, that's our story. That's what we're doing. You see what really responded and how the audience really responded to him just cold-blooded murdering Bib Fortuna. That's the show. Deal with it, Iger.
I, on top of the fact that if you do feel like you have to make an adjustment one way or the other, I don't have a problem learning that maybe this person wasn't such a bad person initially, and then we figure out why we got here. You know what I'm saying? So, but you need to be pushing towards, this is why he kills without regard. You can't just all of a sudden be like, he didn't ever really want to do, like, it was
it's true. Look, someone just brought up, well, what about Andor? Because we got Andor, so I don't know. This is why I give Kathleen Kennedy credit and Filoni less, because Filoni was very involved in Boba Fett. He was very involved in Obi-Wan and all this stuff. He's very involved. I don't give a shit what you hear. He was not very involved. Tony Gilroy's like, okay, Hat, I'm good. And Kathleen Kennedy knows Tony Gilroy. She knows him. She brought him in. She had the conversation with him. It's also a reason why, if anybody ever argues with the fact that Gareth Edwards didn't direct Rogue One, well, then why didn't Gareth Edwards direct Andor and produce Andor? Why did they get Tony Gilroy to do it? So Tony Gilroy was brought in, and Tony Gilroy brilliantly put this whole thing together and said, I'm doing my thing. And Kathleen Kennedy, as a good producer, said, Tony's got it. He's got it. I'll help you out. What do you need? And she did it. This is when she gets the credit of that idiot that said, I don't give her credit for Andor. You're wrong. I give her all the credit in the world for Andor. But it's the Filoni aspect of the creative side. I'm not saying he didn't have conversations with Gilroy. I'm sure he did. But he wasn't going to be like, well, maybe you should do this. He's like, okay, maybe you should go to the bathroom and I'll talk to you in a couple hours. Mm-hmm. It's like, you're not going to tell, what do you tell Tony Gilroy? So, yeah. So that's where, that's what happened. She trusted in, because when you have season 1 and season 2 of Mandalorian, oh, Chris is back. I want to make sure. So when you have season 1 and season 2 of Mandalorian and they do well, if you're Kathleen Kennedy, you go, okay, guys, what do you got next? And they go, we're going to do this thing. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And why they gave Obi-Wan such a piss poor budget is beyond me. It thing costs like $80 million when you're giving the Acolyte 240. What the hell are you doing?
Hey, I mean, I still think the most egregious, and you already talked about it, was Indiana Jones. That was the problem. That was bad.
Remember when people hated Crystal Skull, and then Indy 5 was like, hold my beer?
I like Indy 5 way better than Crystal Skull. I like Indy 5 way better than Crystal Skull. There's a lot.
That is very interesting.
There's a lot more to Indy 5. I feel like Harrison Ford is actually Indiana Jones in Indy 5. I feel like he's Harrison Ford in, like, when he damn, how did I miss? What? Crystal Skull is terrible. But the last one is not good. Like the ending, and I actually didn't mind the last one, to be completely honest with you. I just didn't like the ending. I didn't like that Indy was essentially placed as a side character in his own movie. But when he was there, he was Indiana Jones. I just feel like what I feel like Indiana Jones should do, and this is what I hope. This is what I actually wished would happen. I wish that they would place Dave Filoni back in animation as the head of animation, because he thrives there. I would love to see a Dave Filoni animated Indiana Jones series in the vein of what they just did with that last video game. But he's not going to probably feel like it's a demotion. But I think Indiana Jones could live there. But anyway, there's so much. We have so many questions still, and we only have
quick. I was going to say, I disagree with you on the Indy thing. I think that's the Spider-Man meme, bro. For Crystal Skull and Dial of Destiny are equally just different reasons. It's just one is Spider-Man 2029 and one is Spider-Man at the end of Into the Spider-Verse. They're the same.
Crystal really, yeah. I don't agree. I just think Crystal Skull is so corny compared to I mean, there's way more emotional moments that I think worked for me.
Yeah, but then I get pulled out by clearly them trying to, do the same thing they did with the Irishman, where his hips don't move like that, and yet you're still trying to have him kick.
Oh, that beginning one. They should have they should have done basically what they should have done the deep fake more so on. No, but they didn't do that. That's not true, Winston. That's not
I
true.
swore they
No,
did because I remember in the
no.
beginning that was part of the problem.
No. That was actually not true. They put his face on Anthony Gruber. It wasn't his body. It was his young face, I think, on Anthony Gruber. Chris has decided to turn
What?
into an alien.
Oh, no.
she doesn't want to be a part of the city, but it's
What
like
is
when they do the interview,
happening?
they do the
Mosaic.
interviews
Going
where
on
they're
with
like,
my
we have to
stuff
protect her
today?
identity.
Yeah, it's like a
Jeez
mosaic.
Louise.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna get to put your thoughts in all this stuff. I don't even poor Jonathan. I don't even know how he's gonna cut this all out. We'll cut it up as far as clips. So put your thoughts in there. Anything that we discussed, anything we talked about. What are your overall opinions on it? We're gonna get to all your questions in just a moment here, but I gotta tell you about Rougiette. Do that right back. I got a lot of smart people who watch and listen to this show. Why? Because a lot of you have been signing up for Rougiette. Now, this is something most doctors know that most men just never talk about. Stress from work, money, family. It doesn't just disappear at night. It follows you right into the bedroom. You're going to be lying next to that person you love for years, and suddenly your mind's not going to let your body do what it has always done naturally. So situations like that, doctors look for treatments that help both the brain and the body, and that's where Rougiette Ready comes in. Unlike Viagra and Cialis, Rougiette Ready is a next-generation prescription treatment designed to help prime your brain for arousal and increase blood flow. It combines 3 clinically proven ingredients in 1 mint, dissolves under your tongue, absorbs fast. Most men are ready in about 15 minutes. You stay present, confident, and in control when the moment is right. Over 150,000 men have already made that switch to Rougiette. Getting started is simple. Rougiette connects you with a board-certified doctor online, and your treatment gets shipped discreetly to your door. For a limited time only, you head to rougiette.com/Christian. You get 15% off of your order. That is RUGIET.com/Christian. You get 15% off your order. Rougiette.com/Christian. You're welcome. Thank you to Rougiette. The links are in the description. Please go and check it out. As I said, you help out the show when you help out yourself. You know what I want to do? I'm going to do the same thing I did yesterday because I'm very curious. I don't think we're going to have the same results as we did yesterday because I don't know how sure I am. Also because of recency bias, but we'll see. Let's do a poll. Hopefully Luke is listening. Which movie did you like better? Crystal Skull or Dial of Destiny? Let's see by the end. Let's see. We'll do a community post and we'll see what the audience has. I'm very curious. I think you guys might win because of recency bias. I really do think that. But I'm curious because I saw
Logan recently made people rewatch it because people make fun of him because he likes Crystal Skull.
Crystal Skull. Yeah,
he loves it so much, and that tracks for who Logan is as a human.
Right.
Can there be a third option of they're the same crap? Because that's where I live. I think they're exactly the same to me.
I don't think it's as corny. But we'll see. Yeah, I didn't mind the last one as much. But there's some really bad stuff. That whole entire ending is ridiculous.
Of what?
The last one. I mean, both of them, but the last one for sure.
Did you not like when Harrison Ford went knowledge?
Oh, Brad. I only
That's
those,
what we're after.
I should just say that the first 3 movies are really the only ones exist. It's like those two. It's like Rocky 5. Okay, Burn. Quick one became a member. Thank you. A lot of great membership benefits at the moment. We have our live stream coming up pretty soon. All that and more. Okay. Nathan Drake. Everyone can grab on Kathleen Kennedy all they want. But 2 of my favorite Star Wars things happen under her. Rogue One and Andor, and she championed for Andor getting made. 100%. There's no word like you said. There's tons of coaches who have won big games, and they did a lot for the franchise. And they did a lot for their team. And then they, as Winston said, they made it to the playoffs a couple of years later, and they just couldn't do it anymore. So it's time to go to maybe to a new team and win some championships there. All right, next one. Gregory Dobcher. Who the bleep is Christian? I don't recognize this host. Is he new? Chris and Winston. Who is he? I know. I'm kidding. I know you've been super busy. Love. No, I know. LA was what a whirlwind that was. I still don't know what time zone I'm on right now.
Man, dude.
I've been back and forth to LA twice. It was interesting.
Don't you have one more trip?
Not for like another month or 2.
Oh, okay.
So not I wouldn't be able to do that. I would physically wouldn't be able to do it. It was too exhausting to go from Tuesday, then Wednesday, Thursday. No, when do we get back on Yeah, total. Wednesday I was back in the office. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday I worked. Then weekend, do whatever, and then right back on the plane on Monday. So that was it was interesting. Ray, Kathleen Kennedy stepping down, Coach Tomlinson stepping down. We are definitely in a new timeline. We are indeed. Truth. Stargirl. Is anyone watching A1000 Blows on Disney? I don't know what that is. It's based on real women who were gangsters during Victorian London with Stephen Graham and Erin Doherty from Adolescence. Second season is out and it's brilliant. No, I don't know. Do you guys know what that is?
I've never heard of this. I'm going to Google it right now. 1,000 Blows.
I love hearing about new stuff. Swazi 8455 Hall of Fame run. Laughing my ass off. I would have loved for Winston to debate Nerdrotic on this. The views would be so crazy. For Star Wars was irrelevant because of her. Well, first of all, no, it's not. It's not irrelevant because of her. It's like, look, I think it's devalued. I think that the brand is weakened since she took power. I don't think there's an argument against that.
Of course.
But Hall of Fame run, as far as this is someone who wrote that. No offense, you just don't know the business side of things, right? Because if you're talking, like I said before, if you're talking creative, you might have an argument. You might have an argument of where it goes overall. If you're talking business, you still have, out of the movies you put out, you still, let's say there's the Indiana Jones movie, which is a stinker, Solo, which is a stinker, right? As far as money goes, Force Awakens, Rogue One, Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker. I don't care what you thought about the movies. Money wise, they all made money. Executive and producing wins put you in that. What's all her other wins? Hall of Fame. As far as creatively, another conversation.
Again, which is why I use the Tomlin analogy. I won't go super deep into it, but again, when you have no losing seasons, regardless of you not doing that, that's something that no coach has ever done. Yeah. It's the same thing. She still pulled out billions for these movies in an era where that is, even when it was happening a lot more often, it was not a guarantee, and she still made it happen.
The Force Awakens almost made $1 billion domestically.
That's what I'm saying. So, like, yes, it was. It doesn't mean you can look at Hall of Famers in any sport or any type of situation. You could look at Oscar winners and go, man, The Revenant actually wasn't that good of a movie, but, you know, it was fine. And Leo's been doing his thing. So,
Revenant,
like,
Revenant was awesome.
I thought it was middling at best, personally.
Awesome. But anyway,
the bear was the best part. The bear deserved the Oscar.
Awesome.
All right.
but the argument, though, again, depending on, there wasn't enough characters inside of this super chat to emphasize what he was saying. But are you talking about, as far as, if the argument is, if Winston would have said, look, she's one of the best things that ever happened to Star Wars, she's a Hall of Fame Star Wars executive, then I'd say you're wrong. She's not. She pretty much, she did dilute the brand overall creatively. She'd hurt the brand. She did, I think, creatively. But money wise and everything else too, it depends on what you're arguing. So I don't think you can puff your chest out the way that you did, right? Because you didn't really explain yourself well enough. All right, Alan Smithy. Don't forget about the non-existent Willow TV show. That's true. That's another loss that can't be legally viewed by anyone anymore. Somehow Willow returned. Wait, no, he didn't. That's another loss. That was handled. That show stunk.
That was handled really, really badly, man.
That show stunk. The first episode, I was like, okay, maybe this thing has potential. I went to the premiere of it and said, maybe it's potential. And then, terrible.
But my question is, even with it being that bad, do you agree with them just fully, just like deading it completely, and it just doesn't exist anymore?
No. If you make the show, you gotta, you gotta
let it breathe and live.
You gotta, because it's not like Batgirl, where it got you released it. You already released it. It's like, well, we don't want anybody to see this. There's far worse things on that platform than that.
On top of the fact that you already put it out on the internet, okay? The Star Wars Christmas special, holiday special still exists. You can go and find it if you need to.
I know.
So it's not like you actually hid it from anybody.
I know, it's true. So Battery says, and Kathleen Kennedy also made the abominations of Indy 5 and Willow. Yeah, I mean, she's got losses. Yeah, big losses.
No one's debating that.
No.
She's done some real stinkers.
100%. Nathan Drake 253. I know you want more zombie stormtroopers. Look, they said it in one of those articles, by the way, that that's the thing, is that they said that Ahsoka suffered from it really being such an inside. It's so ironic too, because she let him do this Ahsoka thing, which is about as much inside baseball for Rebels you're ever going to get. Yet she didn't do the Lost Stars book because she said it was too inside baseball. No one would understand it. Yet Ahsoka has these things from, if you didn't see Rebels, you're lost. I feel if Filoni's not going to give a shit. If you want to catch up, go watch my other stuff. My other stuff is good. Watch my other stuff, and then you'll be caught up. I feel like Ahsoka season 2 is not going to change. It's going to be the same shit. But what I do like about Ahsoka season 2 is they're shooting in the locations, not the volume. I like that. Ray, I think the problem with Star Wars is Filoni doesn't recognize Star Wars is big enough for contradictions, big enough for writers with different perspectives. Agreed. Acolyte suffered because of this, I think. Yeah, I do. I think so. I'd like to get the real story though, because if you listen to Roka, where Roka said he knows people on the inside that said Filoni was very involved and made Leslie change a bunch of stuff. I don't know how true that is. I didn't hear that side of it. I've heard things, but I haven't heard that. But I wonder. I don't know. Battery, I'm not hopeful for Filoni. Welcome to Ahsoka Wars. I mean, let me ask you this, Chris, because I don't know if his ego is small enough that, let's say Ahsoka's season 1 ratings weren't very good. If season 2's ratings aren't good and not reviewed well, does he stick to his plan and say, no, we're sticking to what I want to do. We're doing my thing. Or does he actually open his mind and say, okay, maybe people don't want to just see my stories?
If he is a good leader, he will do the latter. He'll go,
Right.
hey, it's not just about me. I do need to pivot and change something. Because Ahsoka, even for me, I was like, what is this show? What is happening? Why?
Right.
Also,
and
just
you love
because
Rebels. And you love Rebels.
I love Rebels. And I
Yeah.
also just kept watching it going, is this the same Ahsoka that I don't know. I don't know
Or more
about
so,
this.
was it the same Sabine? And the answer was, unfortunately, yes. She was still 16 as a 27-year-old.
Yeah. There was just a lot of character stuff that didn't make sense for me. Also, I got a boogie, you guys.
Oh,
I
you gotta
gotta
leave.
okay. Go teach
All
some
right.
people voiceover.
All right, you do your thing.
Thanks for having
All right.
me.
Bye. All right. So we'll answer Chris's things if anything comes in there. Maybe if Luke has a new lower third, we'll get to it in a second. Alex, creatively speaking, I think Filoni, much like Lucas, is best kept to a story by credit. Let others pen the script and direct. I mean, I agree with that. I think, like, story-wise, like I said, he knows Star Wars. There's you're never going to get that argument out of me. And he loves Star Wars. You're never going to get the argument like, oh, this guy's a poser. He's not. He loves Star Wars. He loves the characters. He knows it inside and out and knows so much about it. And he should be that guy that's like, there to help people and knowing the philosophy of the Force and what it is and all that. 100%. But the story, he's not a good writer as far as dialogue goes inside of live action. He's just not.
You're kind of talking about George at times.
Totally.
I mean,
totally.
That's when the funny thing is I was like, is that what potentially the mentorship from George was?
Maybe
was like how to really understand a story, but not necessarily how to make it a script.
It's true. Alex follows up and says, thank you, Chris, for saying Star Wars should be special. I've been screaming from the rooftops for years. Star Wars is not content. It's an event. I mean, it's certainly going to be an event, but isn't that a problem though? I don't disagree that Star Wars should be an event, right? When you should get really hyped for it. Anybody really hyped for Mandalorian and Grogu? I mean, I think more people are hyped for Starfighter.
I'm hyped for it the way that I was like, oh, that'd be a fun thing to do.
Right.
Like,
but that's not Star Wars special.
No, I agree.
Like the way The Force Awakens, when The Force Awakens came out, it was
what's
like a
funny,
rock concert.
But what's bothering me right now is I don't think that that's unique to Star Wars. I think that because so many of these studios and the people that are in charge have oversaturated the market and have really kind of ruined a lot of the brand. I will give Marvel credit for trying to build that hype with how they're doing their marketing, but I'm still in a place where I'm not like, an Avengers movie is coming. I was like, it'll be fun. I still like all the other superhero movies.
You're not as invested as you were beforehand.
And so that's the whole thing. It becomes an event because, again, you lead with the passion.
Yeah.
And that is, I think, where we've been missing recently.
And there's so many questions in Force Awakens, like, oh, where is everybody? What's the galaxy looking like? And Starfighter has a little bit of that. Starfighter has a little bit of that, right? It's like, well, where is everything? And they got a great cast, and there's some hope there. And then, one of the things I didn't bring this up, and I should bring this up real quick. Hold on. And Jeff Snyder actually tweeted this out earlier today and said Simon Kinberg has developed a detailed 70-page treatment for his Star Wars movie, and he's expected to turn in the script by March. The film is expected to launch a new trilogy. All right, so I find that to be very credible, not only because Snyder's our buddy, but also because Kinberg and Filoni have a very good relationship. They started Rebels together. One of the first time I ever interviewed Filoni was with Kinberg. And Kinberg's a Star Wars guy too. And so this was something that I was hoping that the new trilogy had, which was a 70-page treatment and the ideas of where it could go and the essence of we have a plan and this is how it could further on and go places. I think that's a good start. That's a good start.
It definitely is. I think that the one thing that I've kind of said about Kinberg that makes me nervous is it is very hit or miss because because I understand I haven't seen all of his Star Wars stuff. Like I haven't seen Rebels, so I can't speak on that. But like I think about how multiple X-Men movies were not good.
That's when the directed ones were not, but there's a lot. It's so hit or miss. You could say a lot of them what he did weren't good, but then you could say a lot of them were great.
Logan. Logan, yes, but he didn't. He just. But see, this is the thing. I'm talking about him as a writer. He produced Logan. He produced. He did write Days of Future Past. He produced First Class, but like he wrote Last Stand.
Is he writing? Is he writing the script though too?
Didn't you just say he turned in a 70-page treatment? I thought implying that was he was going to be writing his
not
his
necessarily.
Thing.
Okay, he very well might be. I want to see which ones. So he wrote because
I'm looking at it right now. Yeah,
I mean he wrote some piss.
Yeah, he did.
Dark Phoenix, 355, Mr. and Mrs. Smith was okay. Fantastic Four was the farts. X-Men Apocalypse was the farts. The Last Stand was the farts. Days of Future Past, he wrote it.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. That's more misses than hits. And if
more misses than hits.
I'm okay with him producing. I like a lot of the stuff he produced.
Right.
But I think about X-Men Apocalypse. That movie is just a tragedy. Like
I gotta see if he's writing the script or just writing a treatment.
I heard treatment and my mind immediately goes.
Yeah, you could be right.
Writing it.
You could be right. All right. We did that one already. Let's see. So Armada. I just hope Filoni isn't jumping into this role like Seth Rogen in the studio, but it already seems likely. Maybe.
That's why I laughed about the studio being so spot on. Is like that's where my mind immediately goes.
It certainly could be. Greenie from Oz. I'm looking forward to the day that Lucasfilm realizes it has a whole world of material in the novels and comics and utilizes that like Marvel and DC. Right. But I kind of stick. I'm gonna go against something that I said in the past, yet still championing it at the same time. I still think for the majority, Lucasfilm still needs a regime change for the most part. Well, or maybe not, because I think that the executive is good. I think that the team that's running the video games and Visions and all that stuff, leave them. The books, they're doing good. Comics, same thing. Maybe it's just Filoni. Maybe just move Filoni to animation. Give him a shot, see how he does, and then once it doesn't work out, bring in somebody that knows how to do it. And
it's too late now.
Well, you're gonna give him a couple years. Look, this is the positive place that he's in, though, and this is what people. So get ready for this and clip this out. Whatever you want to do, I don't give a shit. You're gonna get videos, and everybody's gonna talk about what a failure the Mandalorian and Grogu is when it makes $500 million, right? Because it'll make between 400 and 500 million overall. People can go, what a failure that is, and that it's inaccurate because it's not the goal of that movie. I've said this many times over. The goal of that movie is to take the $150 million budget, instead of losing it on streaming, making a profit and making some money off of it. This to putting out an episode of television onto the screen to get kids to go see Grogu, and then it makes 500 million. That's a win. That's a win for them. So even though people don't care about Star Wars, it only made 500 million. It's going to be a false narrative. It's also going to be a false narrative for people going, oh, the movie's going to make $1 billion, $2 billion. You're a lunatic. the wave so that'll count as a win, and Filoni will get that win now, right? Even though it's Kathleen Kennedy's win, he'll still get the win. Starfighter will get the win. That one's gonna get the win. That movie's gonna be exciting
as long as it's good. Yeah,
right. People are gonna be pumped for that one. He's going to be working with. He's going to have a lot more hype behind it if he can capitalize on it. So that's why the pressure will be on him a little bit more. But he's at least going to. Right now they're in limbo. They got nothing. There's nothing out there. By the time you get to that movie, it's like, all right, let's see what you got. Now that movie eats shit. You can still say, well, it wasn't his. It wasn't his. But if you have goodwill from the people again with that movie, then you're in a good spot. So we'll see. Yoshimitsu 5537, the best Star Wars since the original trilogy. Are Andor? Agreed. Rebels? Yeah. Cal Kestis? Yeah. We need someone who can reconcile all of that. I'd like to see a Cal Kestis TV show. I know it was rumored at one point, and it was going to happen.
That'd be cool.
I heard that it was going to happen, but maybe it was shot down. I don't know. Go, pal. Christian's rundown of Dave's record puts me in mind of sympathy for the devil. Was Dave around when Jesus Christ had his moment of doubt and pain? To make sure the pilots washed his hands. It's true. Well, that's my favorite Rolling Stones song. Christopher Brickner. Are you sure Filoni doesn't like the Legends? It's not that he doesn't like it. He won't make. There's a lot of stuff. But let's see. And Old Republic, because Filoni likes to include Legend elements in Clone Wars and almost put Darth Revan in Clone Wars episode. There's tons of characters that he used Thrawn. He used Thrawn. He was a fan of the Timothy Zahn stuff. He said it many times over. It's the majority of this stuff, the things that Lucas didn't like and things that he just won't explore. He's not going to go down. He's not going to try the books. He's not going to try all those things. He's not going to go down that road. Maybe I'm wrong and he changes it. And I'm going to love to eat my words if I hear they're going to adapt James Luceno's Darth Plagueis as a dark series on Disney Plus. Dave Filoni's first business. I'm going to go, I'm a moron. And look at that. He's working with James Luceno. He's actually adapting the books. I'm an idiot and good on Dave. That's a win. But from what I hear, it ain't going to happen. So using those characters and certain characters, sure. But the essence of the Darth Revan story and all that, I mean, Darth Bane was put into the Clone Wars. Darth Bane was in the Clone Wars, and Mark Hamill voiced them. So characters, sure. But the overall stories and arcs and what made them special, no.
Dude, Revan is so cool.
So good. Hey, Mr. CJ. This will be a day long remembered. Hashtag I wish I knew. It's true. House Grove, Winston and Chris, thoughts on the winter anime season. We're going to get Winston's on this. Any favorites?
Yeah.
Sense to be a hero, JJK, Ashinoko, Hell's Paradise. We're eating good in 2026.
I mean, we are eating good right now. JJK, I just watched the first of the 3 episodes that are out, and I'm already in. I can't wait for the Culling Games, I believe is what it's called, this next arc. And then Fire Force is finishing out too. Like, there's a lot of good stuff right now, especially considering My Hero last fall was good, but God, One Punch Man was awful. So I'm looking forward to this season of anime for sure.
Right. Theory's over here on his channel, like mission accomplished. And like, now I can finally retire. I mean, look, I'm sure people are, it is time for a new start. So whether or not Filoni can, accomplish the goal or not, it's good to have fresh blood. It's good to have fresh blood. Let's just see if he can deliver. It's going to be, like they said, Clone Wars again. Christopher Brickner, do you believe the Lucasfilm shouldn't use Luke Skywalker anymore? No, I don't believe that. There are many great legend stories about Luke fans love, and there is demand for more Luke project mixed with new stories. No, I don't believe that. I think that you can tell different stories with him. I think that you can place him in stuff like whether it's he introduced him in Mandalorian as a character. You can bring him back. I think that he gave up the whole Grogu thing, what they did with the way he just like, oh yeah, go ahead. And Ahsoka kind of hinted, "Are we going to see you again?" You can absolutely use them again. Now, whether or not they use deepfake or recast them, it's a totally different conversation. But I definitely think that they can use Luke Skywalker again. I hate the fact that they're scared to use him again because you're worried about them. No, you rely on Luke. You shouldn't have to just rely on him. You absolutely should use him down the line.
I think it's the fear is coming from the standpoint of, again, they have been doing a lot of nothing but fan service for a while, though. And so, like, it's not to say that you don't use Luke. I agree with you. There's a lot of good stories. I just wish we had done them sooner. And I wish it didn't feel like at times they were almost using him as a gimmick That I think is part of the
when
problem.
When have they used him as a gimmick? When have they used him as a gimmick?
I mean, I personally loved him at the end of Mando 2. I thought that was great.
And when have they used him as a gimmick?
But I'm saying, like, the way people talk about him in The Last Jedi, you were going to need to use him anyway. But like the way that they talk about,
they used him poorly, but he was necessary.
But that's what I mean, is that instead of it feeling necessary, it feels forced at times, is part of the issue. And I think when you talk about how it feels like, well, now you use Grogu every 2 seconds, I think maybe that's probably where that fear is coming from, one way or the other.
I just feel like that a lot of times people feel like, oh, Star Wars can exist outside of just Luke Skywalker, which I don't disagree with. I just think that you can also not be scared to use them. And I think that there was a rumor like they were going to do like the whole where Filoni's movie that he's supposed to direct was rumored to be kind of based off of the Zahn stuff, which almost contradicts what I was talking about with Heir to the Empire, of them not adapting books. I think it would be different. They have to be different because timelines are different. But Luke is a crucial part of that. And it would also not make sense.
Right.
So this is another thing that I'm talking about, where Luke made sense to come back in season 2 to be he's the only Jedi powerful enough that would sense Grogu, right? What kind of degenerate would this guy be if they bring, like, I understand why he doesn't get involved in Ahsoka season 1. He's not there. He's not around. Like, if you are the most powerful Jedi, and they bring it back, and all this shit's going down with Thrawn and the Empire again, and you don't get involved, it's one of two things: you're a shit Jedi, or lazy writing. He's there, like, so it's like, oh, you use Luke again? Oh, yeah, because he's there. It's relevant to use. He would show up if he knew. He would sense it. Well, I wouldn't know. He would sense it. He would know what's going on, and he would sense it, and he'd fight Thrawn. So it would make sense to use him. So I think that I heard. Maybe I'm wrong, that was more of a Kathleen Kennedy decision. Maybe Filoni feels the same way. I don't know. Should they continue the Skywalker legacy? That I don't. Now that's another conversation. Depending on what they're going to do with it, how they're going to go with it, where they're going to go as far as Skywalker's. I don't know if you need to tell any more Skywalker stories in the future. I still think Ray Ho, stupidest moment ever. And what are you doing there? I always say that with that old lady. What is she doing there? There's like a shopping cart with socks on it. What are you doing? You're just in front of my house. Who are you?
The only thing that would have been funnier, bro, is if it had been like a space real estate agent taking a couple, and this farm, it was blown out by stormtroopers.
Would have made more sense.
Who is this?
Right,
what
she would have made more sense over there? Like she was like vulturing the Skywalker's place, like. And she's like, well, what are you doing here? I've recruited. Oh, we got to get out of here. We thought we were going to make some money on this thing. And so she's just hanging out in the middle of the desert. Who are you? I'm Ray. Ray Ho. It's like my mother when the neighbors would come home too late and play loud music.
Dude.
Who are you? What are you doing? My kids are trying to sleep. Ray Ho. Worst scene ever. Battery. I would love to see you discuss the Kathleen Kennedy legacy with Roka. He was pretty defensive and gave her time a B-. What grade would you give Lucasfilm run? I mean, I would ask Roka the same thing. I feel like Roka and I would probably be on the same page with this, though, because I think when it comes to, if you're judging creatively or you're judging as an executive to make you money, I think the rating, the rating is different. Like if you're asking me again, what I think she did overall as Lucasfilm president creatively, C-. C-. Not good. An overall executive to make me money with movies, including Indiana Jones, B-.
Okay, yeah,
I am Two Fly Camp. Kathleen Kennedy taught us all the Force is female. She may be a Hollywood legend, but she damaged the brand to the point of irrelevance. Star Cruiser Hotel says hi. I mean, so again, this is the thing where when it comes to the brand rating, I gave her the C- because she did not help the overall brand in collectively bringing the fan base together. So there you go. Greenie from Oz. If you had the keys to the kingdom of Lucasfilm, which directors, writers would you put to develop the next Star Wars film or even trilogy? The only thing I'm going to be a broken record on here, I'm going to give you partially one of your answers here. I am to Fly Cam is Greenie I would make sure that my writers from my novels who have been knee deep in this material. Claudia Gray, Drew Carpesian, Alexander Freed, James Lucino. I make sure they were in writers' rooms. I would put them in writers' rooms. And for television shows, it doesn't. Novel writers don't always transfer over to being able to write scripts.
No, not at all.
But they know the stories, and they can be in the writers' room. I would have them in part of the writers' room, and I would also hire screenwriters from hit television shows to write for Dave Filoni and get his ideas and his thoughts, and then turn that into, and don't let him write the scripts anymore.
No, that's fair.
I Am Too Like Cam. Ray movie announced 3 years ago, still no script. Why? Because it's the same shit that they were doing. They can't do that anymore. They got to stop doing that. Hey, look, you excited? Ray and Sinead, oh boy, it's coming.
That's the part where, and it's funny because you even mentioned it with like some of the announcements about how who were you saying wasn't good at doing those, and it was
Kathleen Kennedy.
That's the show part of show business. Like, it's not just the business of, and we have this great new product. You need to Steve Jobs. Oh, and one more thing. Boom, iPhone, son. Like you
right. Well, they tried that with Patty Jenkins. Remember, she came out with the helmet on, and she's like, this story means so much to me because my dad was pilot, and this, like, well, that's cool. And then, just kidding, that's not happening. It's like, stop doing that.
Yeah,
don't announce stuff until you're ready to start shooting.
We've been on the same page with that with every brand at this point. Like, just stop it, because
they do it more than anybody.
No, I agree. Well, the only one worse was the Dark Universe that lasted one movie, and then the whole thing just. I still don't think
it was worse. If you went through the amount of people that they have announced and got rid of, it's crazy.
Bad. It's
crazy.
Bad. It's pretty bad.
Big Bang OT4. Go 100 years into the future with a new Jedi Order. I don't know yet. I mean, let's look. I am excited to see if they get the right writers and new leadership to direct where. I think that, as Kathleen Kennedy was saying in that interview, and as I was joking yet serious, this Sean Levy movie, if it makes a lot of money, you bet your ass there'll be a sequel, and they'll leave it open to having a sequel. But what this is also very important doing it is setting up the landscape of what that galaxy looks like 5 years after the new trilogy. That will also shape what Simon Kinberg does, because he has to be let in on it. This goes back to the whole thing we're talking about with the Marvel side. It's like, okay, well, they're collaborating. Sean Levy needs to set this up, and you would hope. And Kinberg's like, well, what is it? Oh, your thing is this. Well, let Ray's doing this. I think Ray makes an appearance in the Sean Levy thing, and I think Ray has a big part to do in Kinberg, and I think that's why the Ray movie has been on the back burner. I think she's going to be a major part of the Kinberg thing.
That makes sense. I believe that.
Johnny Patrizia, Star Wars Visions you would like a film of. Man, I have to go back, and there are so many things in the Star Wars. You've seen Star Wars Visions, right?
The first season. I didn't see the second.
First season. But there's one about like the Sith, like I can't remember what it was. I'd have to go back and watch it. It's been such a long time, but there's tons of stuff. I'd like to see some of those writers in a writer room too. Brady, Damon and Affleck were on Rogan. They said a 25 million movie has to make 100 million to break even. That's the math. And today, most movies can't even break even. That's why we chose Netflix for RIP. Yeah, I mean, that's the way the business is going now. It's crazy that 25 million has to make 100 million, but that's not.
That is so now it's 3 times.
Well, 25
4 times. That's 4 times. Jesus.
Well, think about it. Well, let's say that the marketing for that movie, a $25 million movie, is 30 million, or let's say 25 to 30 million dollars on that. Plus, it's got to make another 25, so it's got to make 80, right? So 80, 20 years, it's got to make 100, close to 100 million dollars, close to it.
So literally, it's
got to make its budget back, plus marketing and a couple other things.
So it's rough. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying though. The fact that it's gotten up to roughly 4 times though, that's pretty.
But that's
nice.
Usually, I mean, it's always been like the budget plus marketing. Marketing.
Well, no, I understand, but I always felt that was like 2.5 before was what a lot of people.
Either way, it's crazy. Either way, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And the other thing that doesn't go into it before, I think it was Matt Damon that talked about it on previous shows, was that's not what's the way that they would recoup a lot of stuff is that once, all right, well, you know what, maybe we didn't make as much in the theaters, well, we'll make it back on Blu-rays and DVDs, and now you don't have that anymore.
Toys and
you know, well, the Blueys and DVDs are the main
gone.
Well,
sure,
yeah.
sure, yeah.
CB the Legend, Hollywood Reporter reporting that Doomsday trailers reached 1 billion views. Yeah, I mean, it's getting good. It's getting good hype.
That's the thing. They are building it out as an event, and I will give them credit for that.
Nathan Drake, apologies. Love
I
that.
do love that guy.
Terrible. Hey, Mr. CJ Kennedy will return in Adventures Doomsday. Maybe Galaxy Geeks. There he is. Why does anime excel at deep storytelling and world building while franchises like Star Wars struggle to maintain cohesion and vision? As to quote Chris Carr, leadership and bad writing.
And also just that you're talking about an entire genre versus one IP. You know what I mean? I think that's the other thing that makes it a little bit trickier is that there are plenty of anime that are terrible and bomb, but like the genre versus just saying Star Wars as like an individual brand, if that makes sense.
What is this? Pray Mark Safe from Kristian's Power Hunger. Do I have Power Hunger today? I don't know what that means. Yeah, you know what? Just because I read it, so you're marked safe. I can still do this. Watch this. Where is it? Put him in timeout. He can still put you in timeout. Oh, can I? Maybe I can. Maybe you're right. Maybe you are safe. You're already safe, son of a bitch. It's true. I can't. Oh, you fucker. You are. Nice. Good move. Good move. He's laughing his tits off. All right. Dancing Dog 60. Mystery works. It's why Nolan and Goyer's Joker works. Keeps changing his backstory. No fingerprints. He's a chaos agent. That's how we all know. Mystery. I mean, we definitely more mystery for sure. Ray. As long as we are airing our grievances, Tamora Morrison should have spent the $5 and let him show his face in the Ahsoka flashback episode. Maybe they were afraid he would steal the spotlight and cast a shadow. I mean, I don't know. I just it seems a broken record, bad writing, and just too worried. Dancing Dogs. You know, I got these scars. Right. Disney should have spent. Oh, that's what he's saying. Disney should have spent. Dancing Dog 60. This is a tip for the Pecker Pill ad. Hey yo. It's like, no, don't do a tip. Just buy some of the Pecker Pills. Red Bear 134 became a YouTube member. Congratulations. I was happy to have it. We have a lot of new members. Derek Johnson put a lot of new people in there yesterday.
Nice.
Okay. Gopal didn't see Crystal Skull, but I liked Dial of Destiny. Yeah. All right. Oh, I wonder what the poll is right now. I wonder what that. Let me see if Luke
it's right now. Crystal Skull is winning like 54
is it?
or 46.
Let's see. Yeah. Oh no, 58-42.
Oh, it's shifted. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, I figured as much with recent.
Maybe mine's behind. Whatever.
All right. Let's see. The G-Man. Hello, everybody. On the issue of the announced project with Ray at Star Wars Celebration, does the actor get a paycheck while waiting for filming to start? I don't know what her contract is for that. I mean, she signed that. It's supposed to be like $20 million or something crazy, right? Or $12 million, something crazy that she got for coming back. So I don't know. Or maybe they just put it. Maybe inside of the contract is it says something like we're gonna put you in a movie in general. We want you to come back for whatever the movie might be, and it doesn't necessarily have to be that movie. So that hence the Kinberg thing and all that other stuff. The beauty with that is, she's only what, 34 years old, 35 years old,
something like that. Even
if she was 40, which she isn't, the age for this story works. Like sometimes you're like, when we were talking about like Blade, you're like, you only do it for so long because Mahershala is getting older.
Right.
With the wiser the Jedi, the better.
No, I agree. That's a character that actually works. Yeah. I mean, our first introduction to a Jedi was an old Obi-Wan.
Yeah, and that's why I loved Lindelof's take on it. Lindelof wanted to do he wanted Helen Mirren as Rey. He wanted
interesting.
He wanted to do that far into the future. He wanted to do Helen Mirren. I would have loved that. That would have been great. Dark Smirk 1. Seeing Kong vs. Godzilla in the theaters tonight. I am hyped to see it. I love Mando. Oh, sorry, Mando. I love Monarch Season 2 trailer. Excited to see the new GVK movie next year. I saw a lot of Monarch and liked it. I just never finished it. Did you watch it?
No, I never saw it.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I mean, another Apple show, I think. Haskell. Tweedle deedle deedle dun cheedle deedle doo. The best. Yeah, I did a little new rendition to one of the, I think for season 2. Got a new little rendition to that one.
All right.
Maddie Watt, how interested are you guys in the live action Naruto from Lionsgate and Destin?
Naruto. I mean, I am, but what my concern is at the end of the day is always going to be casting with that. There had been a lot of rumors that they were going to put, and then people started using AI to do it. Tom Holland as Naruto, and I can't think of a worse idea. But no, overall, I'm excited for it. Anytime you take an IP like that, you just cannot stray too far from the lore. I worry about that. I hope they go more One Piece than, say, like Cowboy Bebop.
All right, let's see. Haskell, the Game of Thrones intro is also well known. Yeah, I know. Dinklage, Peter Dinklage, and F the Dodgers and playing Kyle Tucker 4 years, $240 million. Yeah, too much.
Jesus Christ.
Too much. The G-Man, another loss for Kennedy. They announced Matt Smith was cast in Rise of Skywalker. Then he was out. Who was he playing? Why was he out? Yeah, that was a long time ago. And people got on me for that because I was like, well, if Matt Smith says he's a liar because he's in the movie, he's supposed to be in the movie, and then people are like, see, he wasn't. I was like, no, he was cast and he just put his stuff in there. He was in it. And from what I've heard, he played like a version of Palpatine younger. That was the rumor. I don't know how true it is, but
forgive me, I gotta run.
All right, you gotta go too.
Yeah, I gotta get
out of here. Ship it myself. Get out of here. All right,
I'll
thank
see
you.
y'all next week.
All right, I'll let you know if you lose. All right. So funny you talked about animation. Indiana Jones apparently was developed by Visions Creative but canceled by Lucasfilm. I wonder if that's true. I haven't done any research on that. I should do some research, but I wonder, maybe because you could see that they got scared that the movie didn't do well and they think nobody cares anymore. But then you look at the game and it's done so well. Gerard, in my opinion, I think Lord and Miller should have been able to finish their version of Solo. I believe that it would have been much better than Ron Howard version. Maybe. Last, we'll never know. No, I want to know what it was. Unheard Sirens Incorporated 2036. Kristian, back talking Star Wars. I originally discovered you around 2015. Remember you convinced Ray's staff belonged to Plagueis. Good times. Yeah, I was totally convinced. And I thought that would be a thing that would make sense. That was the other thing that they did. But it's funny you bring that up because it was like there were things that could have connected all of it together. And they didn't even connect it in the third. That in Rise of Skywalker, it was calling for. You could have connected all of Darth Plagueis' stuff to how he was able to show Palpatine how to cheat death. That's why I thought they were going with it. They were going to show him how to cheat death. Like, okay, it ties all the way back to the prequels. There you go. Instead, the first time you see Plagueis is like George McFly on the tree, looking at it in the Acolyte. Stupid. Paul Hitchcock. Babu Frick supposedly lived in Rise of Skywalker because Spielberg asked Abrams where he was at one point. At what point do we think Spielberg is just trolling Abrams with his input? I don't think he's trolling him. I think he's an old grandpa too. Likes to have fun, and that's maybe one of his. I love Babu Frick. Dancing Dog 60, like Star Wars, the new next generation. Star Trek: The Next Generation went into the future to forge your Kirk and Spock. Star Wars needs to leave the Skywalker saga behind. They got to move on to Funky Town old song. But again, like, what do you mean? Like, not incorporate them anymore, not put them in there anymore? I don't disagree. I don't agree with that. But to focus on particular Skywalker stories, I don't think they need to do anymore. Haskell. Hey, Willie. Ray Ho. Unheard. Sirens Incorporated. Kennedy constantly canceling project. It's an SNL bit. Yeah, it is. And then they can't continue that legacy. They just can't. King of the Wicker People 9450. Does Kathleen Kennedy's career deserve a critical retrospective? Totally. Her time at Lucasfilm clearly shows she has no clue about the creative side of things. I don't know about no clue, but creative things in Star Wars was not her strength. She didn't love it. Well, it wasn't her thing. She shouldn't have been running the creative in Star Wars. It wasn't her thing. She wasn't passionate about it. Creative in general, she's a creative person with other movies and other things she wants to do. But her impact in the older classic movies is nil to no one. Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, so let's see what she does in her next project before we say that she has no clue about creative side of things. Clearly, she's got a clue on creative side of things from her past movie experience, but I don't think she was the person for the job at Star Wars creatively. I don't think that she cared enough about it. I think she was trying to take on the business aspect of it. She needed a counterpart like what she's doing with Filoni and this new executive. Nathan Drake. Crystal Skull still had a tiny bit of the Spielberg magic. I don't remember one scene from Indy 5. Yay, Indiana's diving into the ocean. Just bad. That's fine. Greenie from Oz, Mandalorian and Grogu box office predictions. I'll go 510 million. And I think that's overshooting it, but I'm going to go 510 million for Mandalorian and Grogu. And people will think that's a loss. Brady, regarding 25 million movie needing to make 100 million, don't forget the theaters take 50%. True. Any chance now Mangold and Ben's solo movie are made? I can't believe the Mangold one is not getting made. That we didn't really talk about that too much. That was the one I was most excited about because it tracks to me again. Filoni doesn't want to visit that era. It's like the beginning of the Old Republic and all that stuff. It's like the beginning of the Force and all that. I think he probably scrapped it or decided he wanted to do it. I mean, I that's a total speculation. Russell Lindsay, Kristian, did you see Mike crying, laughing on Tuesday? No, you gotta send me the time code. I didn't get a chance to. John X Dragon, hey Kristian, do you think the new episode trilogy will have a new main protagonist, or will it likely follow Rey again, given how the young actors of the current trilogy are still? Thoughts? Well, and so that also comes off the heels of the fact that that tweet by Jeff Snyder says that could lead into a new trilogy, potentially episode 10, 11, and 12. And they've been hesitant about calling it 10, 11, and 12 to scare people off from having to watch the rest of them and just be, one at a time. I think Rey will have a part, and maybe as Winston was talking about, maybe more of an Obi-Wan type character or someone like our mentor type character where you have new people that you would lead. And maybe if this kid from the Rashawn Levy movie hits in the way that they're hoping that he will, then maybe he becomes a character as well. Who knows? Maybe they introduce some new things. So I don't know yet how they're going to make that work. But I don't think they're going to follow just Rey. I think that they would want to add some new characters and new understanding, maybe some of her new students. Dancing Dog 60. I don't think it's inside baseball to just jump in from the books. I agree. Star Wars Episode 4 explains the goings on in the crawl. Just jump in and move forward. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think that, but that's what I heard, that she thought Lost Stars was too inside baseball. All right, so 64 is where we landed here today, and longer show, good show. Oh, there's another one. Last one. Sorry, 65. What's worse, Obi hiding the kid in the coat? Oh my God, I forgot about that. Or Hux, it was me. Both really bad. Both really bad. And don't forget, I'm Han Solo. That was pretty bad too. But oh man, Hux, it was me, or Obi-Wan hiding the kid in the coat. I think Hux, it was me. But I could change that. I could change that. Corn Emperor, any scoops for your new show, Kickstarter? So I brought that up when I got back the other day. I don't know if you missed the show or not, but what we have is that we're now in like pedal to the metal to the pedal, whatever it is. Foot's on the gas, and we're coming up with all the tiers and the things. And it was funny because I was talking to somebody yesterday. I was kind of telling them the overall plan of what we're doing. Like, well, that's really never been done before. That's fucking awesome. I was like, yeah, no, I know. It's we're gonna really be offering some fun stuff. So we're putting that all together in one particular document. When I met that meeting on Tuesday, was meeting with the person who's going to be putting this all together, and brilliant person. So it's all moving pretty fast. All right, 66. Digging it. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. We'll be back on Monday, myself and John Roca. So I'll be back all next week. I'm here. I'm going to have, I shot my interview with UFC vet Keith Jardine, filmmaker and actor now, and he's doing a lot of great stuff. So I had a great conversation with him. Look forward to showing you guys that. And that's it. So thank you again. Thanks to Chris. Thanks to Winston. Appreciate you guys. And we'll see you on the flip side.